first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from the realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from an undisclosed location somewhere in the deep and mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. Live from Forest Tower Studios. Brought to you by The Fringe FM. This is Lighting the Void. And now, your host, Joe Root.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios from the Great American South. I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. Voices for verity in this crazy realm of polarity. It is Tuesday, July the 17th, and the moon is waxing on into midnight. So fire up your chakras, sync both hemispheres of your brain together, and shoot your magical beam of light through your third eye tonight with us as we peer into the void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. I got to make sure I say that slowly. 1-800-588-0335. We are live on lightingthevoid.com and KTLK Digital Broadcast and The Fringe FM. And TalkStream Live is another place you can find us, a wonderful place to listen to the show. And that listen line is 701-719-3971. Tonight, UFO cops Butch Witkowski. Nobody talks about the paranormal trenches better than Butch, if you ask me. I love the guy. He's a great guy, very informative, and he's doing great things in the world of ufology and the paranormal, so get ready. And tomorrow night, Lisa Allen's going to rejoin us again. We're going to continue our discussion about elven magic and lore. And then Thursday, real paranormal activities. Aaron Hunter is going to be joining the program. And next week, well, I don't want to give that away just yet. Next week is going to be killer as well. So I don't want to get you too excited, but we find out next week's guest. Well, I know I can tell you one of them. Jordan Maxwell's coming back on the program next week. So there you go. That's one. And I'm going to try to get booked out for a couple of months on this one. You know, I used to wing it on my last show. Can't do that anymore. And I want to say thank all of you who have donated. We're trying to get some new equipment here in the studio, as well as we're trying to get Eric's studio going. So anything that you can donate will help. Now, but Eric does have a lot of musical equipment, granted, but we've got some other stuff that we need help with to affiliate with. God knows I need a chair. But all of the stuff that you send in, I want you to know that it goes to the business and it goes to the network and it goes to the show. And what I'm going to do is actually, I got a wish list I've put up, and I'm going to put these things up and start checking them off as we go down the line. Also, for any of you guys that have zero money to help out the show, you can go to audibletrial.com/LTV radio and get your free trial and audio book and get you a t-shirt as well. I think it's T Public is who we got those t-shirts from, and then we're getting another store put up there. But, you know, Crow sent in his picture with his t-shirt on. So we got Chad and then Crow's picture. He was styling and profiling that thing, man. He looked cool wearing it. So I can tell right off the bat by looking at some of these pictures, you know, I'm not one to judge a book by its cover, but I can tell that you guys are definitely my peeps, for real. So thank you so much. And you can sign up to the Void Walkers on the website. They just put your name and email there. I send out a monthly newsletter every month, and we're going to try something different. What we did do, I'm still going to do exclusive audio at certain times, but since we're doing a 3-hour show, it's kind of hard to do exclusive audio with a guest when you got a 3-hour show, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning for some people. So we're going to figure something else out. But don't forget, follow, like, subscribe. Everything is Lighting the Void, #LTV Radio. And I love all you newsletter people, too. I want to thank the team, Eric Markham, Jeremy Scott, and all the insiders who helped me. You know who you are. And don't forget the website is lightingthevoid.com. Let's bring on our guest right now. Butch Witkowski is the director and founder of the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania, editor. JAAR, Journal of Abnormal Abduction Research, a member Institute of Frontier Science, a member of Acadamie de Ufologie, ParaNexus, consultant advisor, Ufology former, MUFON Chief Investigator, Star Team Investigator, and State Section Director He's an independent researcher since 1989, when Butch, along with 4 other people, witnessed a UFO of unbelievable size quietly hover above a mountain in Tucson, Arizona. It was totally silent. They said it burned copper in color, and it was at least 3 football fields in length. It moved slowly up and down, then rose upwards, moved forward, and then vanished at lightning speed. They all agreed on what they just saw. However, calls to the Sheriffs Department, the news media, and the local Air Force base yielded no sighting reports. Butch began his own investigations into the UFO phenomenon that day. After joining MUFON, he was able to dig just a little deeper into past and existing cases and pursue even more on-site investigations, but his research was still lacking something, and Butch wasn't getting to the crucial answers that he needed. So, it was time to go about this and work in a different manner, and after almost a year of serious reflection and consideration, Butch started the UFO Research Center for Pennsylvania in 2009 and brought together some of the best like-minded researchers he could find. Now, the use of multidisciplinary investigators enhanced their fact-finding like no other group that Butch is aware of at the present. Their primary objective is to pursue both the historical cases and new cases that arise with hopes of bringing a resolution to some of these cases of high strangeness. The team also fielded 2 fully equipped mobile units, and they have affiliate groups in 9 states and 1 in Europe. And the website is there in the show notes as well, uforcop.com. Butch, thank you so much for being on Lighting the Void. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, pleasure, my friend.
You know, it's been a minute since I've talked to you, and I know you've got some crazy cases coming in. I do want to ask you one thing right off the bat, just as soon as we jump into this thing. A lot of people I've talked to have told me that the occult activity and demonology or just weird stuff, not just UFOs and I guess Bigfoot, but more occult-like activity has been flaring up a lot here lately. Just curious, is that true in your case too? Because I know you get a lot of cases reported your way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're getting everything but Tyrannosaurus Rex reports. I mean, bipedal canine, large wolves, unknown crypto creatures, Bigfoot, UFOs of all types, triangles, saucers, tubes, bright vanishing lights in the sky, just it's running the whole gamut. I mean, you know, ghosts, strange things walking along the highway, in cemeteries, near old abandoned buildings. I mean, it's just in the last year, it's really gotten crazy. I've had people come into the house, and I moved, so I have a new house, and I'm in the new house now. So now I'm getting people coming to the house to make reports, which is okay. It's cool. But, I mean, people are really looking for answers. They want those answers. And
people coming up to your house and beating on your door? I know the feeling.
No, they usually call first or email me. But there are people that live in the area. They know where I live. I mean, and that was pretty strange, taking a report in my own library, you know. Like, usually I'm taking reports over the phone or it's email or in person, but not in my house. And that was different. But, I mean, the reports are overall pretty credible. I mean, there's the occasional one that, you know, deserves a straitjacket, but on the whole, I mean, on the average, I'm going to say they're pretty much all right up to snuff. I mean, as far as what they're talking about, what they're asking about, and their locations and all the information they're gathering. People seem to be gathering more information before they make a report. Sure. I remember way back when, you know, they'd call up and say, hey, I saw something in the sky. Okay, what'd you see? Well, I don't know. Well, where'd you see it? I haven't got a clue. So, you know, that was pretty much the whole report. But now, you know, they're sending you a Google map of overheads, you know, where it happened, how far away it was. I mean, they're really getting, I don't know where they're getting that information from to do all that, but they're actually giving you the weather. In some cases, they're giving you, you know, latitude and longitude locations. And that's very strange to me because that really only started about a little over a year ago that people started getting really intense when they're giving you a report. It's not just that quick 2-sentence thing in an email, and then you got to figure the rest out on your own. I mean, they're giving you even when you ask for something a little extra, like you asked for maybe what was the weather that day, what was the visibility, was it in line sight, was there anything in your line of sight, like trees or homes or anything like. They respond instantly, right on the get-go.
Well, there's a lot of people nowadays not just meditating and doing these. We've always had that, but it seems to me, unless it's just my perception, that there's a lot of people nowadays, more so than ever, into occult activity. It's kind of like you remember, and I know you remember this, when tattoos weren't cool, right? Well, they were cool, but they were very rare. You had to be a real rebel to get a tattoo. And now everybody's got them. Well, it seems that way to me now with occult work, magic, and things of that nature, that you had to be real brave or scary or real creepy person or strange if you did those things. And I don't know if it's the internet or if I just pay more attention to it, but it does seem to me that there's more activity going on. And so I wonder what the effects of that are. So my question really is, in long term, has things increased since you started investigating?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, manyfold. I was used to back in the day, before U4COP. I mean, I was used to like 1, 2, 3 reports a month. If I got more than that, it was like a flap. I was like, wow, I got 4 reports instead of 3. But now I get 3 or 4 a day. And some of them are basically information, or somebody that might be doing it on their own as an independent researcher, and they'll want to know about a technique maybe, or how to do a casting, or how to look for prints, or how to take a DNA swab, just kind of basic stuff. And then there's some other people that just call up and they want to talk about, well, what kind of binoculars should I get, or is this a good recorder, or is this EMF detector any good? And then you get the reports where they've seen something, or they followed something, or they found a footprint, or they found there was damage to a car, or something like that. But it kind of runs the whole gamut. I mean, like I said, you get information, emails or calls, and then you get reports. Some people are call up and want to talk about something that happened years and years ago that they can't find information on. Now, some just would like to know the information or where they could get it, or like from Project Blue Book, or from an old MUFON file or something like that, or somebody else. So, I'll do a database search for them and send them the information, or they just call up and they might have read that report or seen that information on something paranormal or crypto or ufology or demonology or, anything in that realm. And then they want to, get your opinion on it, or is there any place else they can look for information? So it just covers this wide area now. It's not like it was before, where it was like, I guess the words I'm looking for would be like hit and miss, like you might get something, you may not. And you might have a dry spell of, 3 or 4 weeks before you get something. Now it's almost a daily basis.
So you're getting calls every single day now? Multiple
Pretty
calls.
much, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If I think the last time I went without a call regarding something was probably a week ago. And wow. I had a whole day that, I didn't get anything. No emails, no calls. And it was so strange that I was like looking at the computer going like, did this thing break? But no, it was just one of those days, And I'm not going to say that I didn't enjoy it, because, I had a lot of other stuff to do. And that's another thing that's important for guys that are doing research, is, when people ask you a question, no matter how insignificant it might seem, or it's not important to you, or it's not something you delve into, try to help them out. I mean, put them in the right direction. Like if somebody asked me about demonology, well, I know about as much about demonology as I do making my grandmother's spaghetti sauce.
Right.
So I would put them in touch with somebody that was, had that kind of knowledge. I'd never had to shut anybody off or ignore them or just blow them off. I mean, I've always tried to help them with whatever I could. If it was, whether it's an old report or it's a new report or it's just something they just came upon and they want to talk about it, or they might have had their own experience, or it's about equipment or whatever. I mean, I've never shut anybody off. And I know there's people that do that, and I don't think it's right. I think, if people are good enough to, get a hold of you or to make a report or to just even to ask a question or just to make contact with somebody they think could help them put them in another direction or get them to somebody that would know what they're asking about. I really don't care for that when people call me up and they say, well, I called so-and-so and so-and-so. And some of these people I know, and they're very well known. And they say, well, they blew me off, or they didn't return my call, or they said they were going to do this, and they didn't do it. And to me, I think that sucks because, Yeah,
I've heard that too, actually. I actually have heard that with some bigger groups. I don't like to name names on the show, but I mean, you can just use your imagination. Yeah,
and it's like folks like yourself, myself, and many other researchers out there, we've spent a lot of time, effort, and energy doing what we do, but why would you not want to share that with people that ask you a question or want some guidance to even to get to another group, or to, they can't find a group in their area, or they can't find the type of EMF detector they want, or they can't find this, they can't find a report. Why would you not take that 5 or 10 minutes and just say, look, hang on a second, let me look for you, and just give them the information you're looking for? I mean, it's not hurting you any. I mean, it's helping them out. And, look, I'll be the first one to admit there's people out there I wouldn't give the time of day to because I know what their angle is. But
I'm curious about that. But what are some people's angles? Like, why would anybody want to call in and give you a false report? Like, what is the agenda there?
Fortune and glory. 15 minutes of fame. And it's happened to me where I've, one particular fellow in Florida that I spent, off and on, maybe 2 or 3 months talking back and forth with reports, UFO reports and different types of reports as far as flight characteristics and stuff like that. And all of a sudden my stuff shows up in his book.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Or they're gonna start their own new group, so they want to throw names around. Well, I know Joe Rupp, and I know Butch Witkowski, and I know this guy, and I know that guy, and so they use your name to front up themselves, and then basically most of these groups are social memberships. I mean, they're like everybody gets together and they just sit around for an hour or two and shoot the crap, and then they go to the bar, or they have the meeting at. But to be honest and fair, there are a lot of good researchers out there. Now, some of them are not well known. They're not on the radio. They're not writing books, but they're hardworking. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2 people, and they keep in contact with you, and they ask a lot of questions, which is good. And they do their thing, and they're happy doing it. And they're not looking for any reward. They're not looking for a paycheck. They're not going to, they're not looking to have their own radio and TV show. They're just out there looking for the truth, which is what we all should be doing, is looking for the truth.
Well, I've always wanted to go on. I've never, and I'm going to make a confession here, I've never been on an actual paranormal investigation. And so I am curious, like when you show up, well, let's just say that I told you that I saw, and I keep seeing this apparition or maybe a shadow being, and you show up on the property. What's like the first thing that you do? Do you just ask me questions and then look around the property? I'm just curious of the process.
No. The normal procedure would be if the property is occupied, you want to talk to the occupants, of course, and you definitely want to show empathy. You don't want to go in there with some cocky attitude. So you want to show empathy, let them show you what's going on or what they think's going on, the areas that they're seeing or feeling or whatever's happening. and then go outside with your people and, explain to them, where you want to set up cameras, where you want to set up recorders, and, who's going to be outside watching monitors, or, and who's going to be on what floor doing what. And so it's basically meeting with the people. Now, if it's an unoccupied building, of course, none of that matters. But if it's an occupied building, which most of the times it is, we try to get those people out of there. I mean, have one person from the family stay and stay with maybe the person that's watching the monitors in case anybody needs anything, or they got to go to the bathroom, or they want to get into another area of the house. So you have somebody from the house there. But basically, if it's like a family of 5, maybe the husband would stay, and the wife and the kids could go up the street or to a relative's house for a few hours. But and you just go about your thing. I mean, you want to
use the equipment you got, huh?
Yeah, you get your equipment out, you get your camera set up. Especially if it's a confined area, it's really easy, because if you have a confined area, and let's just say there's 2 entrances in and out of that area, so you want to have cameras at the end of the entranceway. You want to have cameras inside, and you want to have cameras going outside the entranceway. So in a normal room, you would put a camera in each corner, and then at one entrance, the other entrance facing the entrance. So the camera looking one way is facing that way, and then you have the camera looking the other way is facing that way. So coming or going, something will be on the camera. And voice recorders, of course, down there. I'm not real sold on EVPs because I've seen how they can be doctored to make things happen or make sounds happen. And I remember back in high school, the song Louie Louie, when they played it backwards, it's supposed to be satanic,
Really? Louie Louie? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was banned. I went to a Catholic high school, and it was actually banned. But if you played it backwards real slow, I never heard anything other than a bunch of garbled garbage. And but there are ways of doing that with EVP, and you can do that with if you have a good mic and a speaker like you or I would use on the radio. And you could go into another room, muffle your voice, and just do a little mumbling, and every now and then put in some kind of a kicker word like "go away," and then you can doctor all that up and have that in the recording, and then the EVP will pick it up. There's
the one that gets me though, Butch, is the children. I don't know how they're faking those.
No. But there, and I read an article not too long ago about somebody what they were doing was, it had to do with the volume setting, and I forget what it had to have on it. It had on and off, it had volume, it had... Are
they changing the pitch of it or something? The tempo?
Yeah, you could change the pitch and the speed. And somebody got real concerned because all this person was picking up on EVPs was children, and places he was going with other groups, there were no children involved. And then somebody caught him at it. But, I'm just not sold on EVPs because I figure if, everything, like what we hear and what a dog can hear is like 10 different things, right? So people say, well, they want to record. Well, I say, well, don't bother with the EVP because that's something you're manufacturing. You're taking AM, FM, and you're just expanding it, and you're going to pick up all kind of white noise everywhere. I mean, there could be somebody driving down the street outside of a building you're in playing loud music, and it's going to pick it up. Now, what it's going to sound like when you play it back, since it's gone, through the air, now it's got more white noise. It's going through the house, more white noise. So it's not going to sound anything like somebody playing, rock and roll going down the street in their Corvette. So what I always tell people is, like, if you want to do recording, just get yourself a good recorder. I mean, spend a few bucks, get a good recorder. Don't go to Staples and buy one for $29.95. Look for a studio grade recorder. Probably going to cost you like $225 2.5.
Yeah, they're expensive.
And, you know, what you're picking up then, you're going to be picking up, and you're not going to have any white noise in it. And so then you can listen to that. Now, if you're hearing stuff through that, there's nobody in that room, and you're all outside, I mean, you know, having a cigarette and a Coke, and you come back in, and there's all this stuff on that recorder. You know, with those type of recorders, you can download that into your computer, and there are programs that you can put into your computer, and they're free. They don't cost anything, and you can see what's going on a screen, you know. Like you can hear the footsteps of you guys walking down the steps. You're all going outside now, so that then there's silence. So there shouldn't be anything going on that screen, and all of a sudden you're going to start seeing stuff happening on the screen, and you may pick up some voice, you may pick up some noises. But people got to remember, when you're in an old house, I mean, there doesn't have to be anything wrong with the house. Houses move, houses creak.
Yeah, they do, and they can sound really creepy when they do it. And my grandmother's got one. It creaks and makes all kinds of weird noises.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't have to be an old house. A new house will do that. You know, wood, as wood's drying out, or especially after a hard rain. Some of these houses, and I was talking to a guy about it at a conference one time. I said, you know, he was saying about, he got to this house one time, which he's been to many, many times, and he says, he might have found some good stuff. Maybe not. He was kind of on the, you know, the middle rung with that house. And he said he went there one time right after a really bad rainstorm. He said, oh, my God. He said everything was happening. Doors were creaking, floors were creaking. Stuff was like somebody was hammering upstairs in the attic. He said, and it was just a leak in the roof. The rain caused so many problems with the house because it was just an old house, and it was soaking wet, and it was starting to dry out. And so he was getting all kind of noises, and doors wouldn't open. They were jammed shut because, you know, they were warped. So he pays a lot of attention, and I always tell people, pay attention to weather. I mean, I don't care if it's UFOs or paranormal or cryptozoology. You want to pay attention to the weather. Weather plays a lot in this stuff.
What do you mean by that?
Well, let's say you get a UFO report, and the guy says, or in the report, whoever made the report says, well, it had to be 20,000 feet, and I know all that because, you know, I fly a lot, or this, that, and the other thing. So you just check the weather, and you find that the ceiling that particular day at that particular time was only 5,000 feet. It was heavily overcast. Okay. Or they say, it was a clear sunny day, and you look and, you know, you do your thing and look into do your background on the weather, which is absolutely free all over the place, and pick out that day and time, and you see that the humidity was high, it was pouring, it was thunderstorms. There was no way anybody saw anything like that. It was impossible. But then again, if you're doing like a bipedal thing or any crypto thing, you want to watch humidity changes, you want to watch wind changes. So let's say you have a camera set up on a trail, and the camera is picking something up in the woods, but you can't make it out, okay? It's too far away. Say you just got a trail cam up, and it's just too far away, and you're seeing like huffs of smoke. Well, you know, you're looking at your weather station, and the temperature is like 28 degrees. Well, okay, that could be something down there breathing. Now, what would be moving around like that? So, you know, you do your other camera thing, or, you know, you just keep watching your weather, and it goes the same thing with rainy season. You know, you could be watching a whole area and there's nothing going on. You get a storm come through and there's all kind of action going on in the woods. Everything's moving. Everything's, you know, hiding under this or running there. And it just, weather's important because it can verify a report, or it can take a report apart in a heartbeat. And there's very few people that do that. I mean, we have a weather station, a NOAA weather station. I mean, it works off our computers. We can be sitting in a truck watching it in a blinding blizzard if we wanted to. Put it out. It's totally waterproof. We got it from NOAA. You know, we've had situations where we had wind change, north-south, east-west, nothing else, just north-south, east. And when we checked on that, the people of the Penn State Weather Bureau, which is part of NOAA, National Weather, the guy said, well, yeah, that happens a lot. He said, but not in Pennsylvania. He said, for that to happen, you need to be in the Himalayas somewhere,
right,
or up on Mount Everest.
Which we got to take our network break, but we'll come back and finish this. That's my fault. I didn't tell you, but we take breaks on the halves here. We'll be right back, guys, with Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop. Don't go anywhere.
This is Dan Lopez, Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, with a Fringe FM segment, Summerland in Theosophy. The term Summerland is used without the definite article, the Summerland, also called the astral plane heaven, is depicted as where souls who have been good in their previous lives go between incarnations. The Theosophists believe in Summerlands are maintained by hosts of planetary angels serving Sanat Kamura, the Nordic alien from Venus, who Theosophists believe is the governing deity of Earth and leader of the spiritual hierarchy of Earth. Sanat Kamura is believed to rule over our planet from the floating city of Shambhala, believed by Theosophists to exist on the etheric plane, a plane between the physical plane and the astral plane, about 5 miles or 8 kilometers above the Gobi Desert. Theosophists also believe there is another higher level of heaven called Devachan, also called the mental plane heaven, which some, but not all souls reach between incarnations. Only those souls that are more highly developed spiritually reach this level. In other words, those souls that are at the first, second, and third levels of initiation. The final, permanent, eternal afterlife heaven to which Theosophists believe most people will go millions or billions of years in the future after our cycle of reincarnation or reincarnations is this round is over. I don't know why it says that. The final, permanent, eternal afterlife heaven to which Theosophists believe most will go millions and billions of years in the future after our cycle of reincarnation in this round is over is called Nirvana and is located beyond this physical cosmos. In order to attain Nirvana, it is necessary to have attained the 4th level of initiation or higher, meaning one is an asshat. It says air hat, but we'll call it asshat, and thus no longer needs to reincarnate. There are other things to take a look at, but if you want to read more, you can see references on Wikipedia. But I would definitely refer you to places like C.W. Ledbetter. Well, the works of Rudolf Steiner, who developed the Waldorf schools and was a Theosophist, who was seriously worried that the mystery school was actually going way too far east in their teachings or their dissemination of the knowledge that they had. So with that, I just want to say thank you for listening. This has been Dan Lopez, Spiritual Warrior Today for Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Reverend John M. Polk from johnpolkmedia.com, and you can listen to my show, The Quantum Hologram Matrix, every Thursday night. ETs, UFOs, metaphysics, the paranormal, and more are some of the many topics we will cover on The Quantum Hologram Matrix. Make sure you bring your higher concentric multidimensional selves. That's every Thursday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on The Fringe FM.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
You asked for it. We listened. Changes are coming to the Fringe FM. Hear the Paranormal Code with Rich Giordano live Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, starting July 9th.
July 9th, we're going to be going 4 nights a week on the Fringe FM.
Followed by Lighting the Void with me, Joe Roop, live at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Then stay up with us in the early morning hours for some of the best paranormal and alternative programming around. The truth is out there, and so are we. The Fringe FM. The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTOK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM. Wow. Audio issues right off the bat. That happens. I told you, I don't know what's going on today, Butch. When I woke up, the lightning hit, and then we had, I had to replace my router, and I did have to restart the computer, but I've been having all kinds of technical issues here lately, just to be honest with you. When I got something's changed. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm scared I got a virus on my PC because anyways, when your antivirus says, oh, we captured a virus, yada, 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 and then it said something Trojan on it, and I was like, oh, great, because those things just jack up everything on your computer. So,
yeah, they're not good.
I don't know. I may be having to get a new PC if I don't fix this thing, but sorry about the sound issues, guys. But, a thing I thought about doing, actually, though, for, like, maybe subscribers or Void Walkers was actually letting you guys hear what we talk about during the break. As long as the guest is cool with it, that'd be fine.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that.
But what I was going to ask you about was I talk to you about the occult all the time, man, and stuff like that. And I just think that from what I'm hearing from all the guests that are in this field that I've talked to, it's just the activity itself has increased, especially sleep paralysis, like hooded beings and sleep paralysis, where people are seeing things like that. And it's, when they come to you about those things, do they try to get you to fix it, or are you just there to report it?
Pretty much just there to report it. I when I get somebody that really needs that kind of help, I usually turn them over to somebody that does it a lot more than I'll ever do it. Somebody that's a lot smarter than me when it comes to that stuff. But one of the things, like you just said, sleep paralysis, in this age of CPAP machines and all that stuff, you would think that stuff would have settled down a little bit, but that's not quite the way it is. Sleep paralysis, people weren't waking up in the middle of the night fighting, sleepwalking. But again, I always try to warn people, wherever you sleep in your room, you want to make sure you're not near any electrical outlets. OSHA will tell you that the safest place to sleep from your normal electrical outlet is between 4 and 6 feet. because, a lot of people, their bed is there and there's this socket for the light, and your, EMF will screw around with your head. We had a gentleman not too awful long ago, a few years ago, where, he would wake up screaming like, there was somebody in the room, they were trying to kill him. We went to the house and looked around. There was nothing that would glean that kind of from him while he was sleeping, but it only happened when he went to sleep. And one of my investigators looked me at his EMF detector and walked over, and he said, "Where exactly do you sleep?" And he said, "Well,
right next to the outlet."
Man, he was right on the outlet.
Oh, no.
He was inches away from that outlet. And so I said, well, he couldn't move because the way the room was laid out, he couldn't move the bed to the other wall. So what we told him to do was sleep on the other side of the bed, if that's okay. He wasn't married or anything. He could sleep anywhere into it. I said, just sleep on the other side of the bed and let us know what happens. And so what he did was, for a week, he slept on that side of the bed. And he actually put some blankets and pillows so he wouldn't roll over back to the spot where he always slept. And no problem. Issue solved. So what we told him to do was, if you have to have the light plugged in, you have a socket on the other side of the wall there, why don't you just run an extension cord over from the light to there, which puts you about 8 to 10 feet away, and just put plugs in this one, get those little kid plugs and put those in there, and you're done. And which he did, and no problem since.
Well, when you were talking about sleepwalkers, my uncle used to do the weirdest stuff. My cousin, when I used to stay the night with him, we used to mess with him. And I learned real quick not to mess with sleepwalkers because
you get hurt.
Yeah, he choked me unconscious, and I think I was 9 years old in his sleep. Pretty much, I remember passing out. He just grabbed a hold of me and just started choking me. Pretty crazy, right?
Well, yeah, but that's there have been people who have been killed like that. Now it goes back a while. That case has got to be 10 or 12 years old by now, where a gentleman who had a drinking problem, and he went and got medication. He was on his medication, and then when he started taking his medication, he would start walking in his sleep. And so they just pretty much, he was good about it with the whole family, so they all said, well, we'll just go to other rooms. You can stay in this room by yourself. And he wouldn't ever leave the room. He'd just walk around, bump into everything, and eventually he'd wake up. And, of course, his shins and knees looked like he was praying on rocks for a year. But one night he woke up and got out of the room and went down to the basement and got into the gun cabinet and killed the other 4 people in that house.
Wow.
Went back to bed. And when he woke up, of course, he saw what was left of his family, and called the police, and, it was him.
Hold on just a second. I'm on a telephone. This is really weird. What did you do, Butch? Did you drag some weird stuff in here on my show? I think I'm trying to blame you on Butch.
I didn't really want to tell you about that, but...
I think something's going on, man, for real. It sounds weird. If you guys can hear that, tell me if I sound like I'm on a telephone. But it does sound like I'm on a telephone.
You sound good on my end.
But I'm listening, monitoring the show, too, so that's really strange. Because I'm not on a telephone. So where is the show getting the sound from? I have no idea. But anyways, I'll work it out as we go along here. But I guess, so when it comes to the apparitions that you saw, I guess, on the farm or whatever, have you had any more... you know what case I'm talking about, right? The one you talked to me about before. I hate to bring up stuff that they don't know what I'm saying, but have you had any more cases like that?
No, just that one. That one's still ongoing. The entities have moved. They've moved twice now. Actually 3 times from the original. So we keep an eye on them. They're still there. There's no shape to them, so they're just, when you're looking through them through a FLIR device, they just look like, I want to describe it as not like the movie Predator or anything like that, but if you'd be driving down a real hot road, you know how you see the wavy heat signature comes off of the highway, you know, that kind of thing. But they're not that big, but they have moved, and more now than ever, we think they've disturbed something on the property, because they were never on the dirt pile. They were on the building or in front of the building. And then when the dirt pile was moved, they moved some of the dirt pile very large in the middle of the field to fill in some low spots. So one of them moved out there. And then the other one, which was close to the barn, moved to the dirt pile. And that one is now moved to the far end of the field. So I'm assuming that more dirt was moved from there to there. And we have some recorders set up and cameras set up, because the owner says he's hearing things around the pond, which is on the other side of the house. And when we say, you know, what kind of things you're hearing, he says he's hearing like chanting or drums or high-pitched, you know, screams like whoops and carrying on. And I said, like Indians? He said, yeah, like Indians. So I think we pretty much got some disturbance there of an Indian burial ground. And these are probably watchers or protectors. So we'll keep an eye on them. We still haven't figured out what the light is across the field. There's actually a cross, which just kind of shows up on its own in the same spot, but there's nothing there. I mean, we've walked over there, we've driven over there, we've walked all around that area, we've driven over. There's no lights over there, but if I'm standing in his driveway and look straight across to the other side of the road, I mean the other side of two fields at the base of a mountain, and through binoculars or plain eyesight, I can see a blue light flashing, which will be blue, pretty bright blue, and then it'll kind of dim down almost to a crimson color red, and it goes out. And maybe 30, 40, 50 seconds, and pops back up again, and there it is. But there's nothing there. Been there in the daytime, been there at night. I mean, you know, there's nothing there. It's just not there. I tried to make it react with a laser pointer. I tried to make it react with a high power LED light. It just doesn't do anything. It's just there.
Wow.
And what it has to do with the house, I have no idea, because if I walk outside of that driveway, if I go to the left and walk outside of the driveway, or if I go to the right and walk outside of the driveway, I can't see it. If I come back to the center of the driveway, or anywhere within that perimeters of that driveway edges, I can see it. And Lon Strickler's with me. He saw it. His son saw it. Of course, the reportee saw it. So as far as what it is, I really have no idea. I just don't know. I don't know what it is. But like I said, we've been there in the daytime, walked all over the place. You know, line of sight, and it's their direct line of sight, and it's at the base of a mountain, so there's a road, there's no homes around there. It's at the base of a mountain. It's next to a power line, and the power line is, it's not close. It's off to the left and up. Goes up to the top of the mountain, but the base, there's nothing there. There's just nothing there. I mean, there's no lights sticking out of the ground. There's no, like, some of these power stations have emergency lights, like if a water pump isn't working or something like that, or a sewer thing is clogged up, they have lights. But no, this is just a blue light, and you'll look at it, and it's bright blue, and it'll stay that way, and then, like, maybe a minute or two, maybe 3, it just turns crimson red and disappears.
You know, somebody told me, and I can't think of the name of the person who it was. Maybe you can help me out. Somebody told me, and maybe the audience can help me here, that they get a lot of paranormal activity around power lines.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember who that was.
There's a lot of activity around power lines. UFOs, a lot of reports are around power lines. Things in the night, people sitting on their porch, strange things happening on the power line, like looks like people running around, or objects moving, you know, near the power lines. Power lines are weird. I would never live near a power line. There's just I mean, it's like where I lived before, and I'm in the country, but I'm not like in the farmland where I lived before, where, you know, you could see a whole field full of cattle, and there's power lines going overhead. The cattle will be on the left-hand side, and they'll be on the right-hand side, but they won't be anywhere near those power lines.
Huh. That's strange. I wonder. It makes me wonder if electricity has something to do with it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Especially in the
does.
ghost realms, because I keep hearing that. That's a trending topic. I'm just trying to think of the name of the person who told me about it.
If you take an EMF detector and you drive under one of those, and just, you know, you drive and have somebody watch the EMF detector, I mean, they're that shielded, or the material that's on them are shielded, that, you know, when you get close to them, there's really no reading on your EMF meter. But the minute you get under them, or you break that shield area, man, it'll pin the EMF until you get out of there. So that's a lot of EMF. I mean, you're talking about a lot of power. You're talking about, you know, hundreds of thousands of volts. So not something you want to screw around with.
So after all your investigating that you've done, do you believe in the afterlife? You believe there's something else on the other side of this thing? It's not just all in our heads?
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, it was just, you know, years ago, if somebody would have said that to me, I would have went like, I don't think so. Everything's separate. But as time goes on, and as, you know, you read these reports, and you have, you start to realize that all this stuff is connected. I mean, it's, you know, the paranormal, the cryptozoology, the ufology, demonology, it's all connected somehow. How it's connected, I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I'm sure somebody will someday, but it is connected. There's just, you know, one of my favorite cases was where it was a UFO. It was a paranormal thing happening on a property that was not lived in anymore. It was on property it was lived in, but it was just a house that some relatives lived in. They never sold it. They just kept it on the property. It was up. The upkeep on it was kept up. But they kept seeing lights from the main house to this second house on the property, walking around the second floor. Well, there was nobody living there. It was empty. And it is looking like paranormal investigators are going in left and right, and they couldn't figure it out, because when they'd go in, the lights be on the third floor, they'd get to the third floor, they'd be on the first floor. It'd be like somebody walking around with a flashlight. And there was nobody else in the house but, you know, these folks. And the guy called one of my investigators, and I got involved in it, and we started talking about it. And I said, look, next time you go out, I said, why don't you have somebody outside looking up to see if anything in the sky is happening while you're doing this? And they weren't on site for about 2 hours. And, you know, they saw the lights go on in the attic, going back and forth from room to room, from window to window. And the guy outside was screaming in the microphone of the hand unit that, you know, there's a light, you know, above the house. And they got a picture of it. Now it was just pretty much an orb, but it was large. It was up high. From the picture, I'm going to say it was probably up in that maybe 10,000 foot range. And it was pretty huge. It was pretty big. And then the lights went out. Well, that disappeared. And there was nothing else for the rest of the night. So there was definitely a connection there between something in the sky and something in the house. And so what it was, I have no idea. The thing above the house was definitely an unknown. And why there were lights on the house, nobody ever figured that out. They still go there. But now that they've been watching the sky when they're inside, nothing's happened. Now, isn't that something? When they weren't watching the sky, it happened all the time. When they went back and went to watch the sky for the second time, it just didn't do it. It wasn't there. So there's been no light in that house.
Were you joking earlier when you said you brought something negative with you, like some kind of weird energy? I mean, like, did you just get off some type of weird case or something?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm still married, but that, you know, we won't bring that into it. But no, nothing weird lately. I mean, stuff lately has been pretty straight up. I mean, called bipedal reports. Last one was a little odd because it was not quite as tall as what we've been getting, 8 to 10 foot. This one was more 6 to 7.5 foot, maybe 8 foot, but it was gray. Excuse me. It was gray. It wasn't the black that we've been dealing with. And the area that was made it even stranger was, are you familiar with Centralia, Pennsylvania? Where the mine fire's been going on now for years.
Right.
That's where the report came from. We've never had anything in that area. No Bigfoot reports. No strange anything in that area, other than the underground fire. So I don't know what that's all about, but it didn't quite match what our normal description of this creature is, because they're all the same. None of those are different. But this one was different. Size, color, head size. He didn't see hands. He saw paws. I mean, it could have been a big dog standing up for all I know. But
well, there's been quite a few reports of that too. I know Dark Water seems to think that this Dogman creature, he's starting to get the idea that it could be interdimensional or interlinear type creature that's being called up from some other realm. I don't know. He's getting evil feelings about it. This is what he's saying.
Oh yeah. And I've been on a show. I've talked to him. I mean, I've interviewed him. And he said that way back when. He said something's just not right. And like with what we have going on here in Pennsylvania, and I'm not talking about dogmen now. Dogmen are totally different, and that's mostly in the western part of the state, and they find them digging in garbage cans, running up and down parking lots, so they're probably feral dogs. But the ones that we have are like in Loop area where they're confined, they don't get outside these huge state parks. I found reports on them with the exact description in 1868 from Erie, from an old newspaper in Erie, where a guy was describing a creature that was attacking his sheep or goats. I forget what it was. I'm pretty sure it was sheep now. But he shot at it and missed, but he described exactly to the constable exactly what he saw, and what he described is exactly what we're dealing with. So, rather than go with their interdimensional, I really believe that they are, they've been around for a long, long time. They've always been here. And whether they're guardians or, I don't think they're shapeshifters, but, and when we started doing reports for the whole state, we came up with quite a few. Some of the descriptions in the 1800s to the early 1900s, that they are pretty much the same in shape and color, but they were chasing folks, and some people were actually attacked. We couldn't find any death-related, but that doesn't mean to say there weren't any. And I just have this feeling they've been around for a long, long time. They're a relic. How could something be in the newspaper from 1868 when I'm looking at the report from 3 days ago? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's no difference. It's the exact description. And so, that's just me. I just think I'm dealing with a relic. Now, I've had people say, well, it could be interdimensional, it could be a shapeshifter, it could be this, it could be that. But it is, it's there. And they've been encountered by hunters with guns, and nobody shot at it.
Yeah, that's what surprises me, because the way these things are described, it's definitely, I would definitely take a shot at one of these things. Just saying. Yeah,
and I asked that, and Joe, I do ask that to people. Well, you had a 30-06 in your hand. Why didn't you shoot? And they all say the same thing. Just to cut it short, if I shoot, something really bad's going to happen, and I'm going to lose. Okay, don't worry about it.
Ever since that storm came through, a big bolt of lightning hit the studio. Okay, guys, sorry about that. We're back. We were just talking about electricity too, Butch. You see there?
Yep.
But the thing about, so what I'm mainly worried about, and I know I bring it up a lot, and I know that it's not your field of study, is the occult aspect of everything. But I got to tell you, man, I really think that you should be on the watch out for it, because I think it's on the uprise. Like, we've had certain magicians and Wiccans and people of all different spiritual types from Eastern to Western occultists on here, and they all pretty much say that in the astral realms, or whatever realm you want to call it, that all these portals are opening up. I know this sounds like something off a Harry Potter film, but it seems to be the case. Even my dreams have been a bit wacky of late.
But it doesn't. It's not like it's strange and it doesn't happen. I mean, I've been on cases and I've heard from people that were on cases that stuff that happened were definitely occult related and had nothing to do with what they were doing as far as the type of case they were working on. So again, that just takes me right back to where I never wanted to go, but I seem to be going that route. Is all this stuff is connected. Now, is one more powerful or stronger than the other? I don't know that. But I do know that I just see connections that for all of it, no matter what it is, anything Fortean all of a sudden is like, which I never did before, but now I do. I look for a connection. Is there any kind of connection with maybe the property I'm on, or the individuals I'm dealing with, or the location I'm at, or just the general area? And there are counties in Pennsylvania that, I always, when I have to go into them, I'm very leery of what's going on around me. And I just think it's all connected somehow. It's probably going to take somebody a whole lot smarter than I am to figure that out. But I've seen connections with cryptozoology and UFOs. I've seen cryptozoology and paranormal. I've seen paranormal and, just the whole gamut back and forth. Demonology and the occult, and and I can't remember the name of the case for the life of me. Maybe next time I come on, I'll think about it and get it all together. But there was a case out in Colorado where the state actually built this huge and beautiful park, and it was open to the public, and you could camp in there and the whole 9 yards. And in the off season, an occult group moved in, and it got pretty weird because, they were killing cattle, cats, dogs, whatever, making all kind of sacrifices. So the state, sent the police in, they ran them out, and they closed the park down. And it is one of the highest contact points for UFO sightings in Colorado's history.
Where is this at? Do you know, the specific location?
I believe it's Loveland, Colorado.
Huh, okay.
But it's just weird that, before this group moved in, that was a pretty big, good-sized group. There were like 60, 70 people involved there. And had they not been out, stealing cattle and butchering dogs and cats and stuff like that, they probably wouldn't have got caught. They'd probably still be there. But when the police got there, they had everything pretty much wrecked, and, they had all kind of symbols carved into trees and stuff like that, and the state just shut it down. But the UFO reports over that area before the park was even open was zero, none. And the park was open for 2 years, maybe 3. And the last year and a half is when the occult group moved in and kind of took over. And, of course, nobody else would go there, just the occult group. And there it is. It's like, wow.
Well,
how do those two...
Earlier you were talking about some people call and that they... Well, you said that some people you think might need to wear a straitjacket. And yeah. I wonder sometimes... because I've got friends that I know for a fact when they come to me, they tell me their stories, and they tell them in such a secret way that they don't want anybody to know. And it makes me wonder how many people are actually locked up in these places that really don't need to be there, that actually did see something.
Oh, probably thousands. I mean, don't even think about the United States. Think of these other countries where, I mean, if you look cockeyed, they lock you up in a place like that for the rest of your life. Or they'll take somebody, a family that can't feed like a couple kids, they'll put them in those asylums. There's nothing wrong with them. They just have no place else to put them. So
I don't like thinking about negative stuff, Butch. I really don't. But that disturbs me.
Yeah, and it should disturb a lot of people, but that stuff happens all the time. And I mean, oh God, I was just reading it tonight. It was a woman that was put into an insane asylum back in the 30s, and they had her there for like 6 months. And she was pretty well doped up. Now, back then, I don't know what they used to dope people up, but she was pretty well doped up. And when she came out of it, she told them her real name. And she was a very famous author and writer. And they released her immediately. And actually, how she got there to begin with was she went to a doctor. She fell and bumped her head and wanted to have, make sure she was okay. She went to a doctor. And I guess she said some stupid stuff and probably had, a concussion. And he thought she lost her mind. He had her locked up. And she was there for like 6 months. And she turned out to be a very famous author, female author. And that's when I think it was in the state, I know it was in the state of New York, because they revamped their laws where to put somebody in a home, if they didn't have obvious, kind of running around the street naked with a banana in their ear or something like that.
But if I was to go to court, or let's just say I'm sitting in court and a judge asked me, you told so-and-so, and quote, that you saw a ghost, or if the state gets involved in any kind of way, I mean, you're getting locked up. So what can you and, you can't talk about? It just seems like, is it better to talk about nowadays, or was it real bad back then? I don't know. Oh,
no. It was real bad back then. I mean, people that saw shadows were locked up. Seamen that were out on, fishing boats and stuff, if they said they thought they saw a large sea snake or they saw something that wasn't, a mermaid-looking thing or something, they locked them up in a heartbeat. But today, people are more open to this now. Let me put it this way: they're more educated, not only through the television and the stupid shows, but through reading books and going to conferences and getting involved with groups or listening to good radio shows. They become more learned in this stuff. I think if you tried to put somebody away for this stuff now, you'd have a hell of a time doing that, because first of all, there would have to be some kind of malice involved. Like, okay, so you're chasing your neighbor down the street with an axe,
right?
Just because you like his haircut, okay, that's pretty much going to get you put away. But malice, to prove malice, there's got to be something really bad happening. You just can't go in and say, well, if that's the case, all the people, I'm going to turn this list of my contact list over people that I know and just give them to the judge and say, hey, they all ought to be locked up. No, you'd have to prove malice. And there aren't that many insane asylums anymore. There really aren't. There's very little. I know here in Pennsylvania, I think there's only one left. We used to have 6. They only have one left. One's for...
My father works at a hospital. He's one of the head maintenance guys at a hospital. It's a gravy job. But he wears white because he's the head, I guess you could call it, painter or whatever. And naturally, he looks like one of the guys that would hit you with a stick if you messed up in there, because he's in all white. And he's told me a couple of things about some of the things these people are saying that they're seeing. And I'm like, Pop, maybe they are seeing that. And he just laughs. He's like, I don't think so. And so, you can imagine, you're a normal person. You get caught up in that, and you are in a straitjacket. It can happen to anybody. It's just like going to prison. My cousin told me one time, don't ever say you won't get locked up, because anything can happen. You could be at the wrong crowd, or just something crazy happens. And your life is, that stuff I just think about. Because my son saw a shadow being naturally. When your kid, something happens to your kid, you start thinking about all kinds of scenarios. And that's why I started going down that road.
Well, it's, there have been people, now these people were investigators, and I don't remember the name of the group. I think they were from California. This goes back a little while, where they actually feigned like they were losing their marbles to get into this asylum, where they found out that there were a lot of people seeing a lot of things they shouldn't have saw. And kind of reminded me of the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where the guy wasn't really crazy. He just had a place to live and free meals. But they were there for like 6 or 8 months, and then they just walked out because they knew what was going on. They knew how to get out and what to do. And they wrote a book and on what happened while they were at the asylum, how people were treated and stuff like that. The book was actually pulled. The state of California had the book pulled. And I've been trying to get a copy of it for years, and I can't get one. I don't even have a clue anymore where to get one. But it was, people were were seeing things inside the asylum. They were seeing shadow beings. They were seeing bright white and red orbs moving through the halls and going into a room and coming out of the room. They were seeing individuals walk through one wall and into another wall and through that wall. I mean, there was just so many weird things going on there. And the book was out, I think, for about 4 months before they took it off the market. The guys I think they were charged with criminal trespass because they had the intent to get in there and to lie to get into it. So I think they got pretty heavily fined. I don't think they went to jail, but...
You don't remember the name of the book?
No, I can't. I probably have it written down somewhere in my files. If I do, I'll send it to you. But it was like something to the effect of The Inside Out or something like that, or The Outside In. And, I mean, they got slammed for it, and that asylum dispatched all those, what they had in there. I think the place held like 75 or 80 people, and they dispatched them all over different parts of the state. And that was it. That was the end of the story.
Well, I bring that up because when I was a child, I saw all kinds of things with my own eyes, not asleep, just with my own eyes. We bring this up a lot on the show. And when my son saw what he saw or claimed to have witnessed a shadow being, Corbin is telling me that there's something out there, and he's crying like he don't want to tell me. And this was when he was real young. And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "Dad, there's something was standing there. It was looking at me. It was at the edge of the house. It was dark, and all I could see was its eyes, and he was shaking. I know you know your kids. You know when they're scared. His legs will shake when he gets scared. And
I've talked to it.
No, go ahead.
I've had adults giving me a report on the bipedal. I mean, big strapping guy, bigger than me. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'1", weigh about 270. This guy was bigger than me and a lot younger. And he's telling me what he saw, and he's shaking and crying. He had to sit down in the truck. He couldn't stand up anymore. So when you're interviewing or you run into somebody like that that's telling you something, and you notice those little tics like the shaking, leg shaking, hand shaking, looking around, trying to see their surroundings, a lot of eye movement, stuttering, crying, whatever they saw, they saw. They saw it. You might not have seen it, but they saw it.
Well, the first thing that entered my mind was, protection mode. I got to get rid of this thing, whatever it is. But the whole reason why I went down this subject of being called crazy when you see something is because that was my second worry. Like, what if he tells one of his friends at school, then, they tell the counselor, and the next thing you know, daddy's having a meeting about how your kid's seeing stuff, and they want to put pills down his throat. And I just, if I can think of something like that, I'm sure it's happened on many occasions.
Oh, yeah, I believe that. There's, especially in ufology, I see where a normal sighting, which will, I might get just a normal sighting report. And then, a week later, I'll hear from the same person that they saw it again. And then maybe a week later, they saw it again. Now they've seen, it landed. And, the story keeps building up as it goes. And what they're doing is they're just talking themselves into it, is what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Sure. Do you find many cases that have children involved?
No. Truthfully, no. I in all the cases I've looked at and read, I think one. I can remember one, but that was during a flap, and the kid was like 16. He was standing there with other people who were involved in seeing the flap, and that would have been in 2007.
Yeah.
So I mean, and the boy was just really relating what everybody else was saying. You know, this is what they saw. I think
that is, Butch. I think that for that reason right there, if I would report to you, Butch, I would call you up and say, look, I got a reporting of a shadow being outside my house. I promise you, as a parent, especially if I don't know you that well and I know you got ties to law enforcement and stuff, as a parent, I'm going to say, I saw it. Because the last thing I want is, you know, my kid getting involved and then being questioned. You see what I mean? I wonder if that's, you know, like you ever run up to cases where people don't make sense and you're like, what? You were out there, you know how to detect lies, right? So it doesn't make sense. Well, you find out later that it was actually somebody else, like their kid or somebody they were protecting.
Yeah, and I'm sure that happens a lot, especially when you have a couple, a husband and a wife, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and you always get the report from the guy and never from the girl, even though they were there. And you'll ask them, well, what did you see? And they'll say, what he said. You know, they don't. I always assume that she saw a lot more than he did, or she saw it and he never saw it.
Because, you know, especially the sleep paralysis thing, these hooded figures, this, I guess some people are calling it a succubus or whatever. It's more prevalent now than ever. I've had people contact me and ask me, and I'm no expert at getting rid of things. I just kind of do my own thing when it comes to that. Ask me if I can help to get rid of whatever's bothering them. And 9 times out of 10, it's always, when I ask enough questions, there's a child involved or a teenager or someone young. That's what bothers me, Butch.
It would bother me too. Well, but like I said, I've only had one case where there was a kid involved. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't have cases that there was a kid involved, and I just I wasn't aware of that, or they didn't mention that. But it's just like, the thing that bothers me about all of this Fortean stuff and children is that, you know, the stuff they see on TV, the books they read, like the Slender Man, the murder, you know, the attempted murder of that young girl by her 2 friends. I mean, they really believed that the Slender Man was telling them what to do. And that all came from a TV thing.
Yeah, that's a touchy subject, isn't it? I couldn't even get Nick Redfern to speak about that too much, you know. But
why?
I don't know. I think it's because you know what? I think people are really afraid of finding out that stuff is real sometimes. Like they like to talk about it and entertain it and say, you know, yeah, UFOs and whatever, you know, astral travel, sleep paralysis, shadow beings, black-eyed children, really cool. Like we were talking about last night. They get that suspense feeling when they talk about the subjects. But
it's like,
if it becomes real, they don't want to talk about it.
You know, it's just like I did my first conference, and people said, you know, if a UFO landed, what should I do? I said, run like hell. Well, shouldn't I take a picture? I said, no, you want to run. Get away from it. And I've been telling that pretty much on anything. You know, people say, well, bipedal, should I go up and, like, try to talk to it or something? I said, what are you, nuts?
No.
Go away. Get out of there. I said, you know, you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't even know if it's there. I mean, is that a physical being? Is that a metaphysical being? Is that you know, something from your mind and projecting? You have no idea, no more than I know what's flying up there in these craft. And I get that every time I get that question, I want to just slap myself in the head with a ruler. Well, who's flying it? Well, how do I know? Well, where'd it come from? I don't know that either. Oh, well, then you don't know anything about UFOs. I said, I know they're there. It's pretty much, I can tell you. I couldn't tell you where they're from or who's flying them. And you always get that proverbial, did you ever meet one?
Right. Have you ever had an encounter with an alien or something like that? Right.
Well, I think I dated a couple in high school, but they were just, they were just ugly. But
that's cute, Butch.
But I was desperate. No, it's just no. I think if when people want to discuss this, if they get on a one-to-one with you, and you just really, just talk like you're talking to, your neighbor, an old friend, and forget all the nonsense about what you saw on TV, and you're relating your report now to something you saw in Paranormal World or some ufology site, UFO Hunters or something like that. Just tell me what you saw. What did you see? Forget all the fringes and all the little knickknacks and stuff you want to hang off this tree to make it shine. Just tell me what you saw. That's what I want to know. And some people get a little pissed about it. They get a little upset that you're, like you're talking them down, like I don't want to hear all the good stuff. Well, mainly the good stuff is usually nonsense, because now they're telling you specific colors. Now, it wasn't mauve. It was more of a brilliant pink. I'm not sure of that. It could have been. And then they start going, next thing you know, you're digging through your briefcase looking for a color chart.
Yeah.
And I don't care color chart. Just tell me what you saw. That's what I want to know.
Tell me what you know that happened for a fact and keep it simple, right?
Exactly. Forget all the nonsense. Let me go in and call my Aunt Belle. She saw one of these back in 1948. Really? I don't want to talk to your Aunt Belle. She probably doesn't even remember what day it is, let alone 1948. And you're just going to come out here and it almost seems like some people want to embellish. They want to build that story up from. I'm not saying it's nothing. I mean, they actually saw something. But now, all of a sudden, they're adding all this stuff on that you've seen on Bigfoot Hunters or UFO Hunters or the History Channel or some other documentary, and they don't realize that they're telling you the storyline. Or you get to somebody's house and you walk in and they have a better library than you do. That's a little weird.
Well, what's happened to me lately is the people that, by the way, we're in the hour of Mercury. I promised I'd start doing that. Anytime we get to a new planetary hour, I'm just going to announce it just for the fun of it. But okay. We live around a lot of churches here, and locally, a few people are starting to realize that, there's this guy down the road that does a radio show, which I never wanted to happen, Butch, but it just happens. I guess, eventually. And now they're coming to me, and some of these are old church members from where I used to go to church at. And they're coming to me telling me that they're being pushed. Some of them have told me that, I think, I almost said his name, told me that he saw a shadow figure or some type of blob in his house, kind of the same thing I saw. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, how long have you been holding on to this story? You're sitting in church. You've always, have you told your wife this? Do you tell your kids this stuff? Is it that hard to come out? So as much as we talk about it, as much as we're comfortable talking about these subjects, I still believe there's a lot of people out there that are just afraid to be judged, much less locked up or put in a nut house.
Yeah. Oh, that's, I've had people, they call, they want to make a report. I get there and then they'll say, well, don't meet me at my house. Meet me at the diner, like 6 or 7 miles away from their house. And like, why are we doing this? Well, I don't want people, see me talking to you guys because, people know you guys. And besides that, it's on the side of your truck, on the door. And I'm going like, okay. So we actually bought little magnetic stickers that go over the little emblem on the door. And it's just white, matches the truck, so it covers up the emblem.
So people are embarrassed to be seen with you when they tell you that?
They're embarrassed that their neighbors will see them talking to somebody that deals with UFOs or paranormal or something else. Yeah.
Wow.
Then I have people who are the opposite. I have people just the opposite. I went to one. Up in Schuylkill County. We got a call, and it was like when I did a little background research before I went up there. There were like 6 or 7 reports there in a very short period of time. When I say that, I'm going to say like 7 or 8 months. And we went up there, and we got there, and it was like a party. They had like every relative from miles around, neighbors, everybody, all out in the backyard, and we pulled in, and I expected like maybe one person to walk out and give me the report, and I could get going. Oh, no. Mm-mm. Everybody walked out. They surrounded the truck. And I went like, I'm going to be here a while. And I was there for like 4 hours.
Well, I'll tell you what, when we're going to take our break again, Butch. When we come back, I want to ask, I've talked to you about this once, and I'm sure you've said it till you're blue in the face, but I do want to talk about your UFO experience that you had and some of your experiences that you've had, and then we can talk about some other cases. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. We'll be right back with Butch Witkowski. Don't go anywhere.
HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
Select Joe Roop at checkout at AncientLifeOil.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate limescale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
We've heard your feedback loud and clear. You called it out, and now we're answering. All new live programming, 5 nights a week. Always remember, the Fringe FM is for you, the listener, and we appreciate your feedback. Keep the feedback coming. You can email us at talkback@thefringe.fm, call the station at 501-777-5631, or send us a message on Facebook at The Fringe FM.
Message and data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. Do you want to get back into shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Just text STAY to 42424 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenic samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text STAY to 42424. That's STAY to 42424.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Duval, Lon Malo Duquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to magicalegypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series, as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at magicalegypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to magicalegypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
Yohoy there, Gigi here.
And I'm Cortana, and we're here to take you on a journey through all things paranormal, metaphysical, ufology, and even psychedelic on our show,
Shift Happens, live every Friday night from 7 to 9 Pacific. That's 9 to 11 Central, right here on The Fringe FM.
And remember, don't feed the Archons, feed ducks instead.
Duck up.
This is Cortana from Shift Happens, telling you to pour a glass and park your ass as you're listening to KTLK's The Fringe FM. Shifthead.
One 1-800-588-0335 is the number. 1-800-588-0335. We're here with Butch Witkowski. I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. UF4 Cop is the website. The show notes are there. Butch, I wanted to ask you, it's been a while since I've talked to you. To get the information, like, I don't think there is some people here that I know for a fact that probably never heard that your story when you saw the first UFO. It was a rather big one, but I'll let you tell the story.
It was in 1989. We were living in Tucson, Arizona, and I was outside. Some young fellows came over to put some saguaro cactus in the yard, and they were done. It was just around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and it was very, very hot. And my wife went in and got some iced tea. We were all standing out in the driveway. And my neighbor across the street, he was working in his yard, and my neighbor which was down the street from me, he was out at his pool. And I just went to take a swallow of the iced tea, and I looked up, and I kind of looked at everybody else standing around me, which was my wife and these two young fellows from the college, and I went like, wow. There was this craft hovering above a mountain. And it was a good 3 football fields in length, no problem there at all, and 6-7 stories high. It was a burnt bronze color. It had a couple faded green lights along the side, and it was dead silent. It was just hovering up and down just a very little bit. It was about maybe 1,500 feet, between 5,000 and 1,500 feet above the mountaintop, and it was just hovering there. And I looked at everybody else, and their all eyes got glued on it. I looked quick across the street. My neighbor, he's looking at it. The other neighbor's looking at it. And then it just rose up and shot off to the west so fast I couldn't even believe it. It was just gone. And just like it wasn't even there. It was gone. So I yelled over to my neighbor across the street because he was head of federal prisons for the whole western part of the country. And he said, "What the hell was that?" And I said, "I was just about to ask you that." And he came walking over, and then my other neighbor, he came walking over, and he said, "Did you see that?" And I said, "Yeah, we all saw it." And everybody saw the same thing. There was no difference. So I went in, and I called the DPS, Department of Public Safety, which is Arizona's Highway Patrol. They had no reports. I called Tucson Police Department. They had no. I called the Pima County Sheriff's Department. They had no reports. I called Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. They had no reports. I called the CIA Air Force Base, Air Base that was right up the street in Marana. They had nothing at their site. I called radio stations, TV stations, everybody, media I could think of. Nobody had anything. Nobody had a report. And I'm thinking, there's no way that this thing that big was above this mountain, and only these people saw this. And that kind of started me. And of course, I didn't know anything about this stuff. That was just my first sighting. I even never knew that stuff existed. Although I was a great science fiction fan because my father was and took me to movies ever since I was a little kid, saw everything from Godzilla on up. But anyway, I started looking, researching. Computers were around back then, but not the internet, so I accumulated a lot of books, a lot of paper. And then I just was getting nowhere.
Well, before that happened, though, Butch, were you into UFOs or any of this stuff that you're investigating now?
Nope. Not one thing. Nope. Didn't believe in them.
Okay.
Like I said, the only thing I knew about space or monsters or UFOs was the movies my dad used to drag me to when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. And after a while, I just dropped it. Enough's enough, you know. I still got the binders. I was buying these 8-inch binders and filling them with paper and newspaper clippings and anything I could find. But I wasn't getting anywhere. It was just all I was doing was reading a lot of stuff. And then I just laid it alone. I left it go. I didn't mess with it. And in 1996, I was sitting there watching television, and it was a documentary came on about UFOs. I think it was Area 51 and the Aztec crash and a couple other things. And it was like the bug bit me in the ass again. And then I really went nuts. I started doing this, that, you know, computers, books, going to conferences, listening to radio shows as much as I could. And then in 2007, I joined MUFON. And, you know, I got to meet a lot of people, got to speak at a bunch of conferences, you know, got to be a STAR team member, got to be a chief investigator. But again, I wasn't getting the answer. They have a protocol that you follow, and I needed to get beyond that protocol. I could not be restricted because,
Can you talk about that, or is that sensitive stuff? Like, what did they restrict you from?
No, it wasn't like I could go back 5 or 6 times to the same individual.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I couldn't go, I couldn't share information with an outside group. In other words, if you had a UFO group in Arkansas and I had a case similar in Pennsylvania, there was no way I was allowed to get a hold of you in Arkansas to talk about it. That was pretty much to get you out, that'll get you out the front door. So it just wasn't working out for me. And I decided to just let it go, and I would, do it by myself. And then I was talking to a couple people, and they said, well, why don't you start your own thing? And I said, well, I don't want to become MUFON, And they said, no, just a small group. And we did. We got people that I worked with before over the years that I knew very well, that were like-minded, that were, doing, some of them doing it a lot longer than I have, in different parts of the country. And in Florida, we got in Florida, California, Utah, Missouri, Texas, New York, New Jersey, Missouri, Canada, Arkansas. So, we have a bunch of people that we can contact. And my thing was, one of the things that will always kind of bite you in the butt when you're doing research, and I'll just use ufology. You have something that's strange. You never had it before, or you have a photograph that, it could go one way or the other. And, if you're by yourself, I mean, that's as far as it's going to go. I ain't going any further than that. But when you have, like I have 16 people out there, and I can just put that into an email and send it to those 16 individuals and tell them what I got and what I think and what do they think. And I'll get 16 people answering me within a day or two, or within minutes in some cases, of something that maybe I didn't think of, or they knew of a report that I didn't know about, and, it was identical or in the same area. So it was good to have people that I could bounce that off of and get information back on, and not, just tying myself up, beating myself over the head for nothing, when the folks that were out there may have encountered this in their time. And like I said, some of these folks have been at it like 10, 12 years more than I have, and I've been at it 29 years. And it just seemed to work out a whole lot better. Plus, there was none of that drama. There was no drama involved. I mean, I've watched so many groups start up and fold within a matter of 6, 8 months, a year. They're done.
I have too, just in the past couple of years. Yeah,
it's ridiculous, and it's always something like stupid why they broke up. Like, oh well, we're not going to deal with that group anymore because they get more reports than we do, and we know that's not true. And it's just such Mickey Mouse little nonsense stuff. So they'll fold. And, people only do that once or twice, they just get away from it. So there have been a lot of good researchers lost over that nonsense. And but there have been, oh my God, I can think of a dozen right off the top of my head groups since I've been involved that just were there. They were good people. They knew what they were doing, but they just, not so much they lost their way. They just got to the point where it was a social group. It wasn't a working group anymore.
Right.
You know, they went, they met at a restaurant, they had dinner or lunch or, you know, drinks at a bar, and they talked about a few things, and everybody went home. That was it. That was the group. No more going out in the field, no more taking reports. If they'd go to a conference, it was like, you know, a road trip kind of thing. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it anymore, but I saw a lot of good researchers walk away, and that was a little sad because, you know, these folks were very good at what they did. They were smart. They had the equipment. They knew how to use it. But like I always tell people, these young people today that are coming into the study are savvy. They're savvy with computers. They're savvy with knowing how to research and background research. They can read. They know how to use the equipment.
So what's the issue then? Why is everybody folding up? Is it just always drama, I guess?
Ego. It's all ego.
Yeah, I can see that. Joseph is asking in the chat room, are you aware of any of the current research thinking that UFOs are always accompanied by an abduction or contact? Only abductees see UFOs. Like, I guess... I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe there's people saying that. Is that what you're saying, Joseph? I don't get the question.
I've seen 16 in my time. In 29 years, I've seen 16. I've never been alone. I've always been with somebody else. In 5 cases, I was standing there with law enforcement. So I know I'm not crazy. And no, I mean, a sighting is a sighting. Abductees very seldom ever report seeing a craft. Ever. They report, most of them report, you know, a being of some type that they may catch a glimpse of, or a bright light or something to that effect. But I can't even think of maybe but 1 or 2 where somebody said they saw a craft in their yard before they thought they were abducted. And but it's when they describe the classic saucer that makes me, a red flag comes up, because classic saucers haven't been reported for
been a while.
20 plus.
Yeah,
20 plus years.
You know, what gets me though, Butch, is I know some of this stuff's real. I haven't had a lot of UFO encounters, but I've had a lot of weird occultic spiritual stuff happen. But it's when I talk to somebody that they've seen an alien, they see UFOs, they can call UFOs, they can call them, they can see them, they can see fairies, they've seen Bigfoot, you name it, they've seen it and done it. And I'm thinking, how in the world, it just doesn't seem possible to me. Everybody's got their own experiences in their life with something strange or weird. This is what we look into. But if you've had all these experiences, that's usually what triggers me. That's when I start smelling, just bull crap, to be honest with you. Excuse me. But.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that, and, like I said before, I got this one house. One time I walked in, they had more books on ufology and all this stuff than I do. And I got about 700 of them in there. And when the guy started relating the story, I mean, it's like, I read that book too. You're telling me exactly, it's almost verbatim, word for word, out of the preface of the book. And I'm going like, I know right then I'm just being smoked.
It does a real injustice to the people that are having real experiences, is the thing about it.
Yeah, it does. But I think every investigator, researcher should run into one of those people at least once or twice in their time that they're doing their studies, because it does enlighten you to how they act and what to look for as far as using open-ended questions or closed-ended questions. And it could save that investigator a lot of time and headaches, because some of them are really unbelievable.
Well, look at all the cases you investigated. The only things you've told me 3 things so far that's caught my attention, unless you've left one out.
Okay.
But you told me that you've had a UFO experience, which started your investigations. You've told me that you had some type of weird China doll experience, and that you've caught some things on the floor, like an apparition, or you've got pictures of it. And I mean, how many cases do you think that you've investigated?
Since I've been doing it?
Right.
I did that just not too long ago, because I keep my own database. 1,796, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's my point. You would think that if somebody that's been all over the world, as far as that seems that way to me, as far as the subject matter goes and investigations, that I know that I'm getting some real feedback, because, I mean, how many do you investigate where it turns out to be nothing most of the time?
I would say maybe 5% or less.
So something's okay. I was thinking it was going to be a lot higher than that. Usually,
no.
I thought people, I don't know. There's so much, like you say, there's so many groups, there's all this stuff going on, but I guess I'm a huge skeptic. I've never said I was a skeptical believer, but sometimes I'm a huge skeptic. Look, I was skeptic about the Force Paranormal's astral travel team, right? That, to me, I was like, that's the wackiest thing I ever heard. You guys got a team of groups a group of people that go in the astral realm and fight off demons and stuff. Like, come on. Right. But until I got it verified, it changed my world,
Well, 94% we know what they are. They're ours, or, we at least know what they are. They're meteors, they're bolides, they're satellites, they're slow walkers, they're military satellites. I mean, and they're very easy to spot. That 4 or 5% of unknowns is unknowns. Now, in report-wise, that's visual, but in report-wise, where you're getting a report, about 90% of the reports are either made up, or they're outright bull crap, or they're just somebody copying something off of something else. And until you're done and fish through everything, you may wind up with maybe that 94%. You could say, well, I know what they are. They're identifiable. And then you're going to have that 4 or 5% that are just still there. So out of that, you'll take maybe another 3% that are military. They're military, only because of actions in the sky, altitude, and such. And basically, you can find them on the internet easily on websites.
So would you say that percentage is right? Because I've had a couple of people tell me, between Greenwald and Tim Doyle, that most of the stuff people are seeing in the sky doesn't mean that it's not a UFO, but they're saying between 80 and 90% of it is as military craft.
Yeah, well, I think it's more than that. I think it's closer to 90%. But it's that 3-4% that is the good stuff. Especially when you get a report where you have a lot of sightings in a particular area over a period of time, a long period of time. Or you will have a flap where you'll have multi-witness, and everybody's credible. It's not nonsense.
Right.
So it's, but when you get the person with the classic saucer in their backyard, that's pretty much nonsense. Or they start to describe a crypto creature that you can pick off of any movie, from the creature of the Black Lagoon to it came from 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 miles, whatever, million miles from Earth, with that old movie, which was nothing but a giant lizard. So when they start describing that kind of stuff, that you're dealing with somebody that's got some kind of a problem. And I'll tell you the ones that are the worst. It's a person that they're living alone. They're either widowed or a widower. They're lonely. Nobody talks to them. They don't have any family. And we've had a couple of those. And again, you know what the story is. You know what's going on. And they're just looking for somebody to talk to. So, be nice about it, be polite, be respectful, show a bit of empathy, go along with them as far as you can, and then, then if you really want to make them feel good, wait a week or two and call them up and say, how you doing?
Right. I get that with the elderly people around here. They all love me. They want to sit down and talk to me for hours upon hours,
Oh, yeah. And now I know, and I've seen it myself. I saw guys at conferences blow those people off. Just tell them to walk away. Just walk away from them or just tell them off. Now, I always need to take a walk when that happens because I just want to grab him by the throat and beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, I can't stand people that don't respect the elderly. I really can't.
Yeah. No, that really upsets me. That children and dogs, old people, children and dogs, that's just not something that I need to be messed with.
Well, I think your sightings are probably, I think your cases are probably going to increase because I know for a fact, speaking of Rich Giordano, that a lot of these people are reporting UFOs and they're really just satellites. And from some of the reports I've been hearing since they're launching this new, space plane that Boeing's working on, that the whole idea for this thing is they're going to be launching several, they didn't really give a number, but they said several new satellites by the end of the next year. So we're going to have all kinds of stuff in the sky now. So I can imagine you're going to get those reports in. I can almost guarantee it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of that. But another thing I tell people, people that are just have an interest in it, you can track satellites. If you go on NASA site, I don't remember the exact page it's on, but it's on there. It'll say satellite tracking. You can track the ISS space station. You can track the satellites. If you go to Flight Aware, it's called, FLIGHT, Aware, AWARE, you can track airplanes all over the world.
Really?
So you can track an airplane. It's going to give you the flight number. It's going to give you the N number of the aircraft, the identification. You'll see it depart, and you'll see where it's headed for. So if you're seeing something strange in the sky, and you know your location, somebody that knows north from south, and say you live outside of Philadelphia, but you know where the Philadelphia airport is, you can go on FlightAware and look at that specific time, say at 1:57 a.m. in the morning, and you saw this, what you thought was a fast-moving plane, flying pretty low overhead, but you couldn't tell, that didn't have any lights on or anything like that, or you didn't see any because of the clouds, and now you're getting all worried. You might have seen a UFO, but you go on FlightAware and you see that this private jet left Philadelphia Airport 6 minutes ago, which would put it pretty much over your house because it shows it on a map. So if you know where you live and you look at the plane and you look where it left and where it was at that particular time, and it'll give you its destination. So it's going from here and it's going to fly out to Wisconsin. So you know everything that's going on. But you can do the same thing with satellites. And that would save people a lot of headaches because they can track a satellite. You can track the ISS. It shows you all the patterns, the flight patterns, where they're going to be.
I think that stuff is so cool. I take the phone out now and look at stars. I don't even know what they are or what they're called, and I can just stick my phone up to it. And imagine if some of the UFO investigators back in the day had that. Well, you could say, well, that's just a satellite. Or, how many people tell you Mars is huge in the sky right now? How many people tell you that, that's a UFO? Or a lot of times they'll say it's Venus.
I just had one last week tell me it was a UFO. And he said, I'm watching this. He said, I'm outside. I'm on my porch. And the guy was calling from Harrisburg. He said, I'm outside on my porch. I'm watching this big red UFO. And it's flashing. It's twinkling. It's there. It looks like it's coming right at me. I'm going like, you're looking at Mars. He didn't believe me. He didn't believe me till the next day.
Yeah, because it was still there in the sky. Does it do that? I wonder if it does that ever. I'm not an astronomer, but it seems like it did this time last year. I'll have to look into that. I think every summer maybe it gets real close. But
if you go on, I always tell people, go to eBay because you can get them cheap, fast. and get a star chart. They're like $6, and you can punch in the time, the date and time of year, and it'll tell you what's going to be in the sky, and it'll show you on this little chart. It's just like a flight instrument controller. You spin the dial around. There's one dial that goes this way, one dial that goes that way. It's just cardboard, but they work really well. Like, you see the Big Dipper, but you can't see the Little Dipper, and then you'll punch it up, and then you see that you have to turn around maybe 30 degrees to your right to see the other one. And but star charts, and you can get star charts on the computer too for free. I mean, it's all free. That FlightAware and NASA, that's all free stuff. I mean, if you got a tablet or a phone, small pad, iPad, something like that, you can have a ball with those things.
Well, what I want to do, Butch, is tell you about the only UFO experience I've had. And we're at the last part of the show, guys. So if you want to call in and ask a question, make sure you do that. I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. I'm going to ask Butch about the sighting that I had and see what he says about it. We'll be right back.
From PrestonDennett.weebly.com, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Mary Ellen Popick of the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. Listen on the Fringe FM every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk all things mind, body, and spirit. You'll learn things from the esoteric to modern-day health, as well as hear from incredible special guests. There will be something for everyone each week, so don't miss it. That's every Monday night, 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the Fringe FM. See you there.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
This is Ryan Gable, host of the Secret Teachings radio show. If you are interested in ancient knowledge and hidden mysteries, as well as a unique and balanced perspective on conspiracies, symbols, and the occult, then join me every Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM.
Shipping and processing, return postage extra, auto ship and other terms apply. Ladies, here's a number that could really scare you. It scares me.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy. Bugs, I hate.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. We're here with Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop. Don't forget to sign up at the newsletter, guys, for the monthly newsletter at lightingthevoid.com and become a Void Walker. Grab your t-shirt and support the show in any way you can. Everybody thinks that's a good idea, so I am going to get the wish list up so we can get the studio in and stuff. I promised you guys segmented radio, and it's coming. We're working on that. We've had to kind of work on things as we go along. But it's the second week we're doing this broadcast, and I think to only have one tech hiccup, that's good. And thank God somebody's here that I'm super comfortable with, which is Butch. I love you, man. You don't know this, but I do. I love you like a brother, Butch. You're one of the guys in the field that I really respect because I know you're trying to do things right. And to me, that's all that matters. The present moment, you know?
I appreciate that.
And here's the thing. I want to know if other people are having this same type of experience. Now, I'll just pass up the part about what I was listening to, but I was, reading some occult material, some spooky stuff. I was working on a house, painting a house. It was about this time because it was the only time that I could do extra work was late at night. So I would go out late at night and work on homes and paint them for extra money. And I just would take breaks, and I've always loved looking up in the sky, especially on, a new moon, when there's no moon out, or there's, like you said during the break we were talking about, not a lot of light pollution. Mm-hmm. And I go outside and I'll look up and I see this star, and it's a big star out in the middle of the sky. And I've never really seen a big star in the middle of the sky. I know where most of them are, the big and bright ones, but this one was odd. And I looked at it, and when I looked at it, I had a thought about maybe this thing's looking at me. And I was like, nah, you know how you second guess yourself in your mind. And the thing turned like a spotlight on a police cruiser. That's what it looked like when it turned and then was gone. And I checked the weather maps and everything. There were no clouds, because at first I thought maybe a cloud rolled over it, and it looked like that, But no, it really, you could see it turn as the beam itself of light shifted and then just turned. And then it was gone. Do you guys ever get reports like that? Because I did see a video that Sheila Aliens put out on her YouTube channel where these UFOs looked like stars, but if you watched them long enough, they were moving position. So have you ever heard of anything like that? Do you get reports like that?
Oh, yeah. One of the neatest reports I ever got was a gentleman. He lives down near a state park, not too far from where I'm at right now, maybe 10 mile. And we went down there for a couple sky watches, and it was very lucrative. I mean, we saw a lot of stuff. And the guy's an astronomer, so he's not really a UFO guy. He's not an investigator or anything like that, but he's when it comes to astrology, he's freaky. And he has this really cool truck. It was actually an old bread truck, one of those old step-in vans. And he has a thing cut in the roof, and he can slide this thing back and put his scope up through there, and he sits in there and enjoys watching the night sky. And he was down there, I believe it was in October, 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago he was down there. It was October. I know it wasn't hot, but it wasn't real cold yet. It was kind of in the 60s range. And he got home that morning, and he got me on the phone, and he says, you got to come over to the house and see this video. And I went like, okay. So, of course, his unit that he uses, his scope, he can record or photograph, And so I went over and I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, wow. And it looked like if you were on top of a mountain looking down into a valley, and there was nothing in the valley but a road that went around in circles, and somebody had a spotlight on the roof and they were just driving around in circles. Right, and this thing would stop, and then it would back up, and then it would go forward, and it would do more circles, and it would look like it was going up, and then it would drop down, and then it would disappear, and then it would pop up over on the left-hand side of the screen. I'm going what the hell is that? That's right. He says, I really don't know. He said, but it's really cool, ain't it? I'm going yeah. I said, so what star is that? And what planet? He went, it ain't a star, and it ain't a planet. I said, oh, now I know why you called me. He says, yeah. He said, it ain't something I normally see in the sky. I said, now, I've contacted astronomy groups before. They don't even want to talk to you. And I said, so how
you got to know they're seeing something. They're always looking in the sky, right?
Oh, my God, yeah. That's what I wanted to ask him. I said, so you called me on this one because it was kind of weird, and it is kind of weird. And he did give me a copy of it. And I said, so how many times do you actually see something in the sky that you can't identify, even though you can look up in your scope and you can tell me every friggin' star that you're looking at? I said, how many of these things do you see that you can't identify? no, you're not going to tell anybody, are you? I said, no, I won't tell anybody. Why? Is that like a big secret? He says, well, we don't like to talk about that stuff. I said, answer the question. I said, how many do you see? He said, hundreds.
Wow. See, I believe
I went,
that.
really? He says, hundreds.
And they don't like to talk about it because they got their rep to talk. That's just like a guest I tried to get on the show. I have in the chat room on the Fringe FM chat, there's a little room that says guest, guest suggestions, and the listeners, they go in there and they want to hear certain people. Right. Mm-hmm. So when I get in there, I listen and, I look, and, I ask everybody that they recommend to come on the show. And one guy's a scientist. He said, well, I don't think that I could come on a network or something. And I won't say his name because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But he said, I don't think I could come on your show because it's called The Fringe or whatever. I don't think it's going to help my reputation. And I was like, But you're talking about human evolution and weird stuff that it had something to do with pigs, and it was really strange stuff, but it was science. But they're so worried about their reputation. I'm thinking, how does that work?
Mm-hmm.
How can you be so worried about your reputation you're afraid to step outside the box at all?
Well, this guy, he turns me on to another guy, right? And he says, don't take my word for it. He says, I'm going to hook you up with a guy up in Schuylkill County that really is an unorthodox type of astronomer. And I went like, what does that mean? He says, you got to see the setup to believe it. I went, all right. So he gets me hooked up with this guy, and we talk a couple times on the phone. He invites me up. So I get there, and it's like maybe 5 o'clock at night. It was in the summertime. It was a nice, beautiful, clear night. And he said, come on out back. I'll show you my setup. So he's got like 3 tripods set up, and they're all in line. And then there's an aluminum bar that goes across the top of all 3 of them, so it's like one piece. And then he has 4 cameras mounted. And they're very good video cameras. I believe they're Canon XL1s, I believe, which are not cheap cameras by any means. And they all had super lenses on them. I mean, very expensive. And then the wiring is gone down, and there's a plug there, and they're plugged in, so they're not running off the battery. They're plugged in. And then there's a connection that goes to a splitter, and the splitter takes them into a computer in the house. And he said, well, it's not a real good time yet. It's still a little light. He said, but let me show you some of the stuff I got in the daytime. And I said, okay. He said, all those cameras out there are infrared. I went like, oh, okay. He said, I had them all converted, and I'm thinking, like, this guy spent a ton of money. Excuse me. So he pulls this stuff up on his computer. Broad daylight, I'm watching 3 or 4, 7 or 8, 2 or 3, going in the clouds, coming out of the clouds, going up, going down, zigzagging all around the place. I mean, and this was just for a 24-hour period. And he said, now I can't put them out in bad weather. He said, because, of course, they're too expensive to do that. He said, but I'm working on something. He said that they'll be covered up and they'll be protected. And I'm thinking, okay. But I still keep in contact with the guy, and he has sent me, I think I have 15 or 20 CDs full of his stuff. And he doesn't even have a scope. He's using cameras.
Wow.
Well, and I want to, that stuff is hard to debunk. You can't debunk it. I mean, what it is there. I mean, he doesn't move the cameras. He just sets them up, sets up his tripods, puts that bar across the top, mounts all his cameras onto that, and plugs in all the wires and connections, and he's good to go. He can go sit in the house and watch TV if he wants to. It's all being recorded.
The only guy that I know that doesn't, Mark I don't know if you've heard of him, but Mark D'Antonio, who's a...
from MUFON.
Yeah, he's an astronomer. Isn't he up there from where you're from? I think.
Somewhere around here, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's an astronomer, and he totally believes in UFOs and talks about it. And it's like, I know these cats are seeing stuff. They had an event here in Arkansas I wanted to go to. They have them every now and then when there's a new moon because there's not a lot of light pollution. And I wanted to go up there and just to ask them. But I talked to a friend of mine about that. I said, hey, I'm thinking about going to this, astronomical event where they get the big telescope out and talk to some of these guys and see if they got to be seeing stuff as much as they look at the sky. And he said, well, they won't talk to you about that. Just like you're saying. And I was like, well, that's not even worth it to me. Why go up? Why hide it?
Well, I had a case, maybe 2 years ago, and I got a hold of the astronomers group in Berks County, and they're a pretty large group. And they wouldn't even return my phone call. So here in Pennsylvania, we have the darkest spot in the world, actually, where there is zero light pollution. That's called Cherry Springs, Pennsylvania. And they have these events up there. They get people from all over the world goes to these events. They have, I think, 3 a year. When you get there, you can't have any white light. Any light like a flashlight or anything, you have to walk around, which you have to have, or you're just going to walk into a bunch of trees and fall off a cliff. Must be red. You can't, even the people that come in motorhomes, they can't have any light. And if you show any white light, they will ask you to leave. And these guys start putting up these scopes like a week before the thing starts. These scopes are huge. And we pulled up, and I parked and turned all the lights out. And we got our little red lights out. And we were walking around and just looking at some of these guys while they were setting this stuff up. And I said to one guy, says, that is the biggest friggin' scope I've ever seen in my life, barring being at, some big site down in Arizona or something like that, Kitt Peak or something. And he says, yeah. I said, so we got more than 10,000 wrapped up on this. He said, the lens was 60,000. I went, that's okay. So, these guys are serious. They're serious. Get, man. 60,000 lens.
A nice boat.
Holy crap.
Did he say that he saw UFOs?
I asked him, and he was going to answer until one guy walked over within an earshot, and then he just changed the subject. So it's, I really believe that it's just like you said, they're protecting their own, they just don't want people to think they're nuts. You mentioned UFOs at any of these things, man. They ignore you like you got the plague.
So I'm never going to be able to talk, and I've always wanted to join a meetup or an astronomical society here where I live. And it's like every time I find something cool, there's always some catch to it. It's like now, I can't talk about UFOs, or I guess I could, but then I would be the weird guy or something.
Yeah. Here he comes.
Oh, here comes Joe. He's going to talk about UFOs again. Good grief.
Now, there are some, but they're younger folks. And, they don't have the kind of money tied up like some of these older fellows do. And I believe that group is in northern New Mexico, if I remember the reading about them right. It's like 12 teenagers, really. And you can buy, instead of, just putting your stuff out out in the middle of the dirt and everything, you can buy a tent now that is an observatory. So you'll have one section of the tent is where you can set your computer up, and you can sleep or sit or eat, whatever you want to do. Then there's another section comes out the side, and the top unzips so you can put your scope out through there. And they have a website, and I can't remember the name of it offhand, but I'll find it and get it to you. But that's all they do. They're not looking for stars. They're looking for UFOs. And they are knowledgeable, in the sky as far as astrology. And but their main thing out there, their adventure is actually looking for UFOs, which is really cool. And I think it's 6 guys and 6 girls. And they're all either 12th grade, or just first year of college. But they do a hell of a job. They really post some really nice pictures.
You don't know the names of them, or did you say it and I just missed it?
No, I can't remember. I have to go through my file to figure out what it is, because I don't get on there often. I just got so much other stuff going on. They're in my contact list, but I don't go on it that often because they are doing the right thing. I mean, and they're willing to share. I mean, because I said to them, man, that's really strange looking. Can you send me a copy of that? And I had it within minutes. So, but they're in northern New Mexico. They're all local kids. They've been doing it for like 2 or 3 years. But they just got this observatory tent.
Man.
And there's a lot of people buying those. Because
an observatory tent?
Yeah, it's a 6-man tent, and then there's a piece that comes out the side that's about, if the tent is 6 foot high, the piece that comes out the side is like 4 foot, and you can just go through there and unzip the top and put your telescope out through that, and then, you can zip it front and back to make it tight, and there you go. You run your wires into the other room, set your computer up, and because most of these telescopes now are electronic. You just punch in the location or the star system you want to look at and hit enter on your computer, and it moves the scope to where you want to look. And then you can photograph or video, whatever you want to do.
Well, I really want to talk to those. If anybody knows the name of those people out there, I want to talk to them. Because I would love to talk to somebody who's just constantly out observing. I mean, Tim Doyle does that. But, a group of kids out there that are, have super knowledgeable in astronomy, like, Mark D'Antonio, that's what I want to find. I want to find a group of people like that. I don't get out of the studio much, Butch, if you hadn't. I'm sure I've complained about that a lot, but if I was to and join a group of people, that's what it would be. I would definitely want to do that.
Well, there are groups out there. I mean, there are groups out there, and they just don't seem to advertise or try to get involved with a lot of stuff. They just kind of stay pretty much by themselves or on their own. But it's really bizarre, some of the stuff that's out there right now. I don't know. It's hard to find those groups, but they are out there.
Well, they ain't around here. It's hard to find anything cool in Arkansas. I'm sorry, guys. I know some of you guys are listening now. I don't mean that. There's cool stuff out here. It's just, I get upset.
They got great food in Arkansas.
Yeah, we do got good food, but I get upset about, in every aspect of everything that I talk about on this show, even like, okay, take our Masonic Lodge. I've talked about Masonry on this show before. We've got one of the worst reputations for Grand Lodge in the United States there is. I talk about UFO watching here. I can't find a meetup group about that anywhere. Now, there's several paranormal groups, but they come and go. Just like you say, they're there and then they're gone. There's only one group of people that are really cool at least in my area, is the Little Rock Paranormal Expo. Those people are very cool. I'll plan on going back again this year, but that's why when we go to these conferences and stuff, it doesn't hurt to go to a smaller conference, guys, by the way, but I try to get everybody's number and everybody's information as fast as I can and keep it, because I may never get to talk to these people again. At least it's that way around here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here in Pennsylvania, like, there are a handful of groups, and when I say a handful, probably less than 3, in the eastern part of the country, eastern part of the state, and then in the center, there is nobody, and then the western part of the state, there's another handful. So at one time, I think there were 293 paranormal groups in Pennsylvania, and there were like 300 and some outside of the state that actually investigate in Pennsylvania. So there was almost like 600 groups, and there was a website that actually listed them all, and their website and contact information. And not too long ago, I went through that to see, who's there and who's not. It's pretty much empty. There might like a dozen groups. So I don't know what happened with the paranormal folks, but it just seemed like they're just not there anymore, or they're not advertising, one or the other.
Well, they realized that it was real work. But I will tell you this, Butch, there's no shortage of wasted talent out there, no matter what field you're in. I've found that time and time again. Like, there's so many people. Shoot, we got to take a break. But there's so many people that want to do radio shows, and then the super talented ones, I don't even want to get into that. That's a bad subject. Anyways, we'll be right back, guys. We're at the last part of the show. Sammy, you're having something weird happening to you. I want you to call in if you can and tell us about it. I'm sure Butch would like to hear it. You guys will be right back.
TheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to, so I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
This is Cortana from Shift Happens, telling you to pour a glass and park your ass because you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM. Shifthead.
I got to tell you, I'm not one of those guys that, I don't know. I don't like to say that weird things are happening when they're really not, when it's all a coincidence, but weird things are happening. At least from my perspective. Technically, and every other way around. Butch, I mean, we've had, I can't tell you how many technical problems tonight, all of the wrong nature, not the same nature. And, let's take this phone call. God hope it works. 501 from Arkansas. You're on the air.
Hey, this is Sammy. Can you hear me?
Sammy, I'm glad you called in. What's going on?
I don't know. I'm working, and I was so cold earlier I had to put my jacket on and, keep it on all night, and I normally don't keep it on unless I go in the freezer. And I looked down and noticed after the first couple hours of getting here, my battery's drained. I mean, totally drained on my phone because it shut off. And so I plugged it up to the wall. I got it charged up enough to get back going. I have a portable charger, and I hooked it up to that, and it was draining again faster than I could charge it. So I put it away for an hour to charge up some more, and I still only have about 20%. So anyway,
Is this just your phone battery?
Yep.
And you said
but it doesn't normally do that.
You said in the chat room you're feeling cold. I mean, phone batteries have problems sometimes, but it's hot here in Arkansas.
Oh no. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot outside, and I'm like, I was freezing and had to put my coat on, and I've had it on most of the night, and I couldn't figure out why. And then you're having all this problem, and then I got to the point where with this battery on the phone, I was like, that's crazy because that never happens. But all of a sudden, it's like things are going wacko.
Butch, can you hear Sammy okay?
Yeah. That's weird. No, that's weird.
Can you tell us, Sammy, real quick, the one time that you had, I don't know if you want to share it, but you shared it in the chat room, your experience. Didn't you get scratched? If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But
Oh, no, that's fine. Well, I am a paranormal investigator. I'm interested in everything unexplained because I want to poke around and try and find answers for stuff. So I've had experiences with being bitten and scratched, and I have sometimes brought things home where my car alarm will go on and off, and it's all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm kind of used to that, and I just deal with things with using salt and blessings and things like that, and usually everything settles down and goes away. And here lately, I haven't done anything unusual, haven't been investigating, so this was kind of unexpected, except now where I work, I know we have a visitor, if you know what I mean. But
you got a ghost up there? Is that what you're saying?
It's like a visitor. I don't think it resides here or stays here. It's like visit.
How do you feel about this? See, I've seen the pictures of the scratches. When you, I don't know if maybe Butch might be interested in looking at them, but that stuff, that's happened to me one time, and I still can't tell you if I didn't scratch. I know I didn't scratch myself, but John Polk was around. That really freaks me out, and you're one of the only people that I know, I'm sure Butch knows quite a few people that have talked to me about being scratched or pinched or bruised for no reason at all, and it seems coincidental until it happens to you. Did that happen when that happened to you? Did that happen to you in your sleep, or did it just happen while you were awake?
Oh, no. The biggest, baddest scratch I ever got, I was getting out of the bathtub and had absolutely nothing nearby to scratch me. And when I stepped out, I noticed I was burning, and I looked down, and there was this big, long scratch on my stomach right in the front. And I was like, wait a minute here. And I was on my way to go to an investigation, and that's when it normally will happen.
I do, Butch. I wonder about you guys sometimes, like if you guys are dragging weird stuff in from, like she says that she goes out and investigates paranormal activity, and so do you. Don't you ever wonder if you've dragged something back with you, Butch?
We carry enough protection on us that it's pretty much safe no matter where we go. I know some people do carry protection, other people don't. One of the biggest things that always bothered me with the paranormal was that, bringing something home or having something, attached. And and as far as Sammy's talking about scratches and stuff, I mean, I've seen that with other investigators and victims where the one gentleman actually the scratch started at his shoulder and went all the way down to his hip, and it was deep. It was deep. God. And he was nowhere near anything that could have done that. And another one that sticks out is a lady who was washing her dog outside. They just moved into the house, and there was a tub, an old wash tub in the garage, barn, whatever you want to call it. And they got that out and cleaned up, so they're going to use that to give the dog a bath. The minute the dog hit the soapy water, she felt a sting on the back of her neck, and she had a scratch from behind her ear all the way down between her shoulder blades.
Do you do that, Sammy? What Butch is talking about? Do you do protection of any kind? It seems like a lot of weird stuff happens to you.
Yeah, well, I noticed throughout my life I kind of attract stuff sometimes because I'm really sensitive. So I just so happened to realize when I carried certain stones or held them, I felt better, and it just seemed like it was some kind of barrier, bumper for me. And what I do, I feel like I'm some kind of spiritual warrior because I'm trying to help people that are afflicted. So I halfway expect to be attacked sometimes. I don't look for it, and I hope it never happens, that kind of thing, but it happens.
Well, if you're getting cold chills now and the heat of Arkansas summer and it's draining power stuff around, you might want to do something while you're at work. Just don't let anybody catch you, doing some type of protection chant or ritual or something.
Oh, no. All I have to do is just either carry the stones. Or I even have some black salt I made myself for protection for stuff like this I keep in my car. But it was just strange tonight. It was unexpected because I come in here with a frame of mind of working and doing my thing and getting done. And then it just seems like something's off.
Well, yesterday, Lily said that she was listening to this show and her laptop just started locking up and repeating. And she even put it on YouTube. I watched it. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to do an exercise the show, it sounds like, I guess, Butch.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
Thanks for calling and telling us that, Sammy. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. You have a good night.
You too. Frequent listener, there's Sammy. I've seen the pictures of some of the, I guess you could say, scratches or bruises that's happened to her. And, that stuff, Butch, is really hard for me to believe, but I did have something weird when I was talking to John Polk once. I just reached up to adjust. And look, Butch, he wasn't in the room. I was just talking to him, via Skype, like I'm doing you right now. And I reached up to adjust the camera, and you could see a scratch just develop right on my arm. Just from what, is there anything in the air that could do that makes it whelp up,
No, it's, I've seen injuries from paranormal investigations from investigators and non-investigators, and they can get pretty nasty. Sometimes it's just like, look, a little red mark, like a baby scratched you, and then some of them are deep drawn blood. And
scary,
I don't know. Yeah, it is. That's whether we're out in the woods or we're in a house or we're out on a Star Watch. I got protection all the time, and
What do you do for protection? Do you just pray, or I don't want to get too personally, Butch, but I'm curious.
You can get stones and things. There's a what the hell's the name of the place? It's on the internet. It's a store. Ghost Supply, I think it's called, or something like that. They're in Gettysburg, but you can get a lot of stuff there. Like if you needed sage or something like that, you could get it there. But they have different stones and crystals offer protection, and then there's other kind of things to use. Certain types of silver, pieces of silver. One pouch I was made up by the Cherokee Indian Reservation out in Oklahoma, so I don't even know what's in that one, but I wear that when I'm in the woods, and the other pouch I carry when I'm, out and about. I've seen and read too many stories about that kind of stuff where people bring stuff home, and it's not easy to get rid of them either.
Yeah,
it's not like you just say, okay, take a hike, and they leave. No.
Well, I will tell you the reason why I do believe in it now. Because I've had my own experience, but you guys are probably going to kill me because I keep bringing this man's name up. But Robert Monroe talked about in his book where he was, when he was traveling out of his body, he was doing it scientifically, experimenting with things. And he pinched a woman while he was in the astral realm and verified that he actually pinched this woman. And, the woman doesn't remember talking to him or whatever, but she did get pinched in the same spot that he pinched her. And that right there tells me, a lot of people want to say it's demons or some type of weird, spirit, but it very well could be, as crazy as this sounds, people that are just playing around in the astral realm, giving you a visit and messing with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, could be. Why not? I mean, it's like with all the information, with all the knowledge that we've gained over all these years, and I'm not just talking about myself, I'm talking about everybody, involved. I'm talking about serious researchers and investigators. We have so little to show for what we actually know that it's almost ludicrous. What we've been looking for Bigfoot, for 51 years? We don't have nothing. Been looking for, answers to things in the astral world, the spirit world. We don't have any answers for.
Do you think you're going to ever get answers? I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm hoping that I'll be the one, because I'm not that entertaining. Let's be honest, guys. I'm no Larry King, right? But what if, I want to be the one guy that did break something on a radio show. That's the only shot I got to the big time. I'm no Howard Stern. I'm no Larry King. So that's what I'm going to be. I'm either going to die with my goals, or I'm going to be the one guy that breaks something big, not just call somebody out on their BS, but really I want to be the guy that breaks something big. And I wonder, investigators of your level, is that your same motive? I mean, are you looking to say, I got it, here's the case, you can't, here it is. It's not circumstantial.
Well, yeah, in a way, but you're so limited on what you're going to be able to prove. Like, the only way I'm going to prove a bipedal or maybe even a Bigfoot would be, and I'm not a Bigfoot hunter, but I'm out in the woods, so if I got the chance, I'm going to take it. But the only way I'm going to prove anything is if I get something on thermal imaging. Everybody else that's really used really good cameras, and we have really good cameras, Nikons and Canons, and they're top of the line stuff. But everybody uses the same cameras and takes a picture of Bigfoot. It's always blurry. So is Bigfoot doing that, or what's the story there? Why are these shots always blurry? And some of them are taken by professional photographers. But you can't hide from a flare. Nothing hides from a flare.
Right.
And if I can get one on the flare, I'll know his temperature. I'll know what he looks like. I will know how tall he is. I will know everything I need to know. And that's all I need to do to prove he exists.
You have that. I know you caught some apparitions, but do you have something like a documentary?
No, not on the bipedal. No, nothing on there for the bipedal. But now we're just coming into our season to be going out for them because, and we just got a couple reports. So our reports, they usually start around July, and then we'll get reports like all the way through up into late November, early December. And then it kind of peters off like, January, February, March, April, and then May, June, it starts all over again. So one of the things we're going to do this year is we're going to go out and do our regular things, between that time period. But then in that off period where we really aren't getting reports, there's a lot of caves and a lot of abandoned mines we want to check out. May run into a bear or two, but we're ready for that. But
I hope so. But what freaks you out more? If you think about these two scenarios, Butch, one, there's these apparitions or whatever you want to call them, demons, spirits, like Zach Baggins accused David Oman of being demon possessed because he got scratched when he was at his house or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there's these beings that are doing this. That's one thought. Maybe evil or malicious, who knows? But on the other hand, you got these group of underground people, I guess, or used to be underground. It's not really underground anymore because it's talked about so much, that can move in and out of different consciousness levels, almost to the point of where they can do anything they want. They can move things, touch you. could be the cause of a lot of the paranormal activity out there, which would be great to break the story on. But really, if they know that, does the government know about it? Are people visiting my house while I'm sleeping or taking a shower? Or do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if that's real, then there is no such thing as privacy anymore.
No, that, and I think anybody that does this, no matter what part of the Fortean stuff they're doing, I think they should all have a sense of fear of the unknown, because, you know, how do you handle the unknown? You don't know what the unknown's going to do or act or how to get away. You know, like somebody said to me, you know, well, if you run into one of these 8-foot, 10-foot tall bipedal canines, just run. And I went like, are you nuts?
Yeah, what would you do if you saw a bear in the woods? Would you just run?
Well, that's another thing. I said to him, I said, you know, a bear can cover 50 yards in a matter of seconds. Oh, I don't think so. I said, well, look, they always tell you when you're going to be attacked by a bear, or you think you're going to be attacked by a bear, lay down and play dead. That's just to give you time to realize that that thing that's chewing on you is going to kill you and you are going to die.
Oh, man.
So waste your time running, just lay down and let him have lunch.
That was a pretty good example of that in that movie, The Revenant, wasn't it? When Leonardo DiCaprio got tore up by the bear just tore him up. I mean, I'm watching this thing, and I know it's fake, Butch. I know it's fake, but just watching him get tore to pieces by that bear seems so real to me. It's almost like they had somebody that got attacked by a bear and told them, okay, this is how it goes down. That was a freaky show.
Well, you know, but that's a real story.
The Revenant. It is, isn't it? I forgot about that.
It is a real story. I mean, that really happened to that guy. And, I mean, when you see the attack, there is no way you're going to fight that thing off. No way. I mean, I don't care if you got a samurai sword. You ain't stopping that sucker.
No, he shot it a couple times, and it just pissed it off. I mean, really pissed it off.
Yeah, well, we carry bear spray, and then we carry ghost gas in air pistols, 68 caliber. So, you know, a face full of that and the gas, at least it'll get me back to my truck.
You got to think at that moment in time, that guy was like, this is it. I'm dead. Even though you're in sheer panic, you're telling yourself, this is how I'm going to die. What did I do to deserve this? I'm getting ripped apart by this animal. And this stuff really happens. A guy not too long ago, I think it was in California, got ripped apart by a panther, somebody that was riding a bicycle.
Yeah. Well, he actually attacked both of them. He killed the one.
Yeah, he killed the guy said that the panther bit his head and shook him like a rag doll, but didn't kill him, and then jumped the other guy and killed him.
Yeah, they go, mountain lion attacks are always, every attack, they always go for the throat. Right before those guys got attacked, there was a young lady with a group of hikers, not kind of in the same area, but close, within 25 mile. And as they rounded a turn, she was up front, and there was a guy in back of her. And he said he saw it leap off of a ledge, and with its mouth open, just went right for her neck. And when they hit the ground, she was already dead. And it just kept going with her in its mouth and drug her in, and and they couldn't find her.
If karma is real, what did you think that person did in their past life? All of you rednecks out here that live around me that shoot cats for fun, think about that. In your next life, that guy. I mean, God bless him and his family and everything. But if karma is real, I'm not so sure that it is. But if it is, I can't imagine what that person did in their past life. Who in the hell wants to die like that?
Yeah. Well, it's just like, I went skin diving a couple times in the Caribbean, and I came to a conclusion after running into face-to-face with a moray eel that when I enter the ocean, I'm entering the food chain.
Yeah, you got that right. And a girl, there's been a lot of animal attacks lately. A girl got her finger bit off by a shark the other day. They had the video of it.
Yeah, and then there was think it was 2 months ago, the Boy Scouts were hiking back to their camp. And mountain lion came out of the brush, grabbed the one kid, and took him off, and they didn't find him for a week. When they did find him, there wasn't a whole lot left.
Do you ever think that the Earth is getting pissed off sometimes? I mean, we got 3 volcanoes. It just every now and then it gets pissed, and it decides to take it out on us. I wonder about that.
Yeah, it's possible, because we sure do a lot of screwing up, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't. So with all this talk about Bigfoot and Dogmen, I've heard some of the wildest stories, and I'm trying to get the missing 411 guy on to talk to them. I got to think.
Oh, Dave.
Yeah, I got to think that that some of these cases, if these stories are real, that you're telling me that Dark Waters has told me about, and other people, that they're getting, I don't know. They're getting kidnapped by Bigfoot. I don't know if they're getting eaten or not, or what's happened to them. God doesn't want to imagine, but
now, when you look at all
that happens,
when you look at all the missing people, not just in the woods but everywhere, but just take the ones that live outside the big cities, not so much the big cities, just outside the big cities, in the country, suburbia, in the woods, the mountains. You know, and you look at that number, which numbers into the millions, and you're just talking about the United States, you're not talking about the rest of the world, and then add Canada into that, and it's another whole ball game. Almost makes you think that there's something out there that's feeding.
Yeah. I mean, the missing 411 cases are, look, I know some of it's natural, but come on. I've been in the woods my whole life, and the only thing that's ever really attacked me in the woods was a buck came at me once and a blue racer snake. That was it.
Now I've got Dave's books here, and when I looked at the, because he kind of breaks down, how old the people were when they were missing, all that kind of stuff, and it's amazing how many are just children.
Yeah, that's sad too.
Now they're easy prey, of course, because they're not going to outrun anything like a bear or a mountain lion or anything like that. But it's just amazing that, they're in that. I think the youngest one here in Pennsylvania was like 5 years old, and the oldest one was like 11 or 12. But there's just a lot of things where, like, where the father is walking with his kids, and they round the corner, and the kids are gone. And the father said he was only 10 foot away from me. I never saw anything happen. But he's gone, never found again. And then the couple that are found dead.
Well, Butch, we got to roll out of here, man. But I want to say this. You're doing good work. You're doing good things. I know that there's things about this field that kind of make you weary, get on your nerves a little bit sometimes. But I just want to say, keep it up, brother. And thanks so much for coming on tonight. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Oh, it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Anytime you want me on, you just get a hold of me, and I'll be there.
Right. I really appreciate that, Butch. Thank you so much. Guys, tomorrow night, Lisa Allen's going to be on. That was Butch Witkowski. You hang out for just 1 second, Butch. UFOcop.com. I'm going to stitch this technical issue we had tonight together for you podcast listeners. And don't forget, this show is produced by KTLK Digital Broadcasting and cannot be rebroadcast or syndicated without written permission. Music was by Chrono Space Station and Cassiopeia. Good night, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night.